This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 409 for the week of Monday, March 7th, 2016. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
And for this very special episode, we have very special guests, including the translator of One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump, Stephen Paul. How's it going, Stephen?
It is going great.
We have our brand new editor-in-chief, Erin's with us again. Hey, Erin.
Hey.
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well. We also have our new chief of operations, I think is the term we're using right now. We have Jammer with
going
us.
with that?
I guess.
I don't like it personally. We'll workshop that and come back later. Okay. But basically, this guy just created his own job title. But pretty much what happened is Erin came in and she elevated the editor-in-chief job past where I was able to at this point. So I couldn't not have her get that position because she was doing so well with it. So
I figured out the name title for you, and that's guessing names for people, and that's gonna be your title. That's gonna be your
Chief
only job.
Name Guesser, Jammer.
Yes, we're gonna put you on that this week on our Manga Recap, so see how that works out.
Sweet.
We also have editorial writer for Sam's piece. We have Sam Leach with us. Hey, Sam.
Heyo, I don't have a new job title, but I'm happy anyway.
That's good. And finally, our correspondent from Japan, the great, the only, the Greg. Hey, Greg.
You didn't know what to say there for a second.
No, I had no idea.
That guy.
That guy over there.
Erin, I don't believe we've been on an episode together before.
Yeah, this is the first time that we talk.
Oh, pleasure to meet you. Looking
nice
forward to this episode. I'm just over here in Japan, counting down the days until Dark Souls 3. So, yeah, wish I could.
Talk about election day where Trump wins.
What is election you speak of? I'm not knowing this.
Now come Smirnoff, everybody.
So,
in Soviet Russia, Zach make joke for you. I don't
Not bad.
I sat down one time. I tried to make a Yakov Smirnoff joke. They're so hard to make. I have a newfound respect for that guy. Nobody knows who I'm talking about.
I don't.
Nope.
Really? Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know people didn't know.
As a theater in France.
Well, Steven, you're of that age.
Yeah.
You're like 50 something, right? No.
Yeah.
We have, getting off to a great start here. We have a manga recap of chapter 818, Inside the Whale. After that 5-hour recap, I assume we have a lot of pieced together with a different crew, so pay attention when we get to that. And before we get started, I first want to say we're going to be at Anime Boston. At least Erin and myself will be there.
Yeah.
We're going to have a panel. The time is still tentative, so we are not going to be announcing it yet, but we hope to see you there. Also, I want to announce that for the month of March, we are celebrating One Piece History Month. It's also Women's History Month, so please celebrate that as well. But on our website, we're celebrating the history of One Piece. And our first column out to celebrate that is World War One Piece from Kyle. We also re-released the One Piece Connection audiobook, so it should be on your iTunes feed if you haven't checked it out yet.
It's great. Listen to it.
Yeah, you should if you haven't. And Sam, you're writing a column for us, and you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the main idea is I'm just going to be writing about sort of One Piece and comparing it to prequel stories in entertainment and media and whatnot, just sort of highlighting the ways that One Piece is especially strong at going back in time and filling in the blanks of what happened before to really flesh out and make the world more three-dimensional, as opposed to some other notable examples in pop culture.
I have no idea what you're talking about. So yeah, look forward to that on OnePiecePodcast.com and a lot more. Hashtag One Piece History Month for your favorite mysteries, pervasive elements of the story, whatever you like about the One Piece and its history, please let us know. But we got a lot of history to talk about this week as we go into chapter 818. I think we should probably just get right into this. Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Oh.
This is the manga recap for chapter 818, Inside the Whale. Ed, what's going on the front page here?
Front page, it's Decks of the World 500 Million Man Arc, Volume 11, Baltigo, and there's no sign of Burgess anywhere.
No, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, it's Dragon has a really funny look on his face for him.
Yeah, apparently the apple doesn't fall off the tree, it just falls into the Grand Canyon. With this guy, I mean, seriously, he and Luffy are just worlds apart.
Yeah. Got very apish hands.
They are. They're really big.
You mean monkey-ish?
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
That was well, at least Sabo has a very Luffy-esque grin to him.
Yeah,
even though they're not related.
And his fancy boots.
Sure.
I wonder who they're looking at, though, don't you? I wonder if that's Luffy or Robin, don't you?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Luffy.
Well, they could easily be looking at both.
Because it's called the $500 million man arc. So
it's the arc, but I mean, everybody's looking at their own person, right? And she was with them. I mean, you've got the people in Drum who were probably, looking at Chopper or thinking about Chopper. And I wonder here, because she was all about Robin Senpai, etc. Or no, not Senpai. She wait, I don't know. How did she call her Senpai? No, wait.
I think she just called it Robin's son.
Robin's son? And yeah, because she's like the Robin fan club, so
well, Robin doesn't really have anybody else. So.
Well, if you look closely at the sheet on her right hand, it's kind of see-through, so you could see Robin's little silhouette.
What the hell are you talking about?
I was really hoping you guys would start looking.
That was my big.
I did. I got closer to the screen. I was like, what the hell?
Jammer, I'm happy we've got you on this week to mislead everyone listening.
You got my article now.
I think when I saw this cover page, I'm like, oh, we're in for something here, because I mean, this doesn't fit in the order that we've been going in at all.
Is it just going to end like next week or something? Skip
and
like 30
it.
arcs,
and that's it.
That's the end.
If you
of
want
that
a teaser, actually, I am going to write about this cover story though, or this particular panel in my next column on OnePiece.com.
Okay,
so look forward to that.
Yeah, can you tell us everything you're going to say?
I can tell you I'm going to write about this panel.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
As the resident koala fan of the podcast, I'm assuming.
Me too.
I like koala too.
Yeah. Like seeing her in a different color scheme. We don't know what color. We'll probably never even find out what color this is supposed to be. But
yes, black and white is good on her.
Because thanks, Toei. All right.
And those are some Dragon Ball ass rock formations in the background.
Oh yeah.
What's up with the chemtrails up top? Mm-hmm.
Well, Dragon's there, so there are always chemtrails. All right, I think we could start the chapter. Ed, what's going on the front page?
A bunch of nin, and someone says, "Enough with the nin," and that's
you're not gonna remark Chopper hanging off of his.
Yes. Oh my God. Yep.
I didn't see that the first time.
So all this nin stuff. If you have an opportunity, go to YouTube and search for Ayaman Japan.
Oh God.
Thank you, Stephen.
I know. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yep. Just look for Ayaman Japan, and one of those videos will show you a very interesting video. Starts off with nin.
Okay.
So yeah, if you have some free time.
All right. So Chopper finishes hanging off his lip there, and Raizo begins. You only saw through my ninjutsu through coincidence, and you're like, yeah, right. You gave us a show, and Chopper notices, hey, are you guys crying? And they do the samurai thing. Men of Wano do not cry. That's ridiculous. It's Raizo
There's
says,
no crying in One Piece.
It's the opposite of the truth.
They're standing at the sort of the back of, like, in the very bottom of the U of the whale.
They're standing in the whale tail. I know. Okay.
Yes. And
no, you're not.
Raizo mentions, when I first arrived here, like, it didn't look like this. Like, everything, the city, the rivers, they looked great. It was buzzing with activity. This country was alive. And Raizo actually, interestingly, curses those minks and their reckless abandon. So maybe he feels like they were acting recklessly for protecting him and not giving him up.
I love this panel.
Yeah, not allowing him to give himself up, basically.
Right.
This is a beautiful panel, right? No one else? I feel like it needs to be said, because it's the background designers again, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On his honor, he will work to make this right. So they will forgive him. He begs for forgiveness, basically. And Luffy is just sort of staring off into the distance at the ruins of the country. And Cat Viper enters. Hey, Yugura, the reading of the stone is complete. Come inside the whale. Because that's the sentence that makes sense.
Yeah. Look at that Luffy. That's important. He's deciding something, or he's feeling something here. He's imagining, and he's getting a connection with this place that will probably be important for his motivation. Like if we question down the line, like, oh, why would Luffy go to this length, or why would he do that? We're supposed to see this scene, and Luffy always speaks his mind. That's his thing. And for him to be silent, staring out, and smiling is pretty rare for Luffy, or it means that he's thinking about something, that he has a connection to this place. I'm not saying, some conspiracy theory, just like he really likes this place. He really likes these people, and he has respect for them. So it's going to tie into his motivation down the line.
Sam,
cool. Yeah, and then we turn the page, and then we have Robin asking Nami's opinion on what she has written down on a piece of paper. I guess the translation of the poneglyph. And Nami is looking at it, saying, "Yeah, I could do it. I could draw a map based on this information," which is interesting. Then the Cat Viper goes on to say, "This is why the whale forest is held to be sacred, and why the guardians are necessary to protect it." Then Dogstorm continues with, "That red stone is called the Road Poneglyph, is meant to serve as a guide to the place the most powerful men in the world seek, the end point of the grand line, ... And then Robin connects the dots. And she answers the question for us. "You mean Raftel, the final island?" And Dogstorm answers precisely. However,
Luffy's staring straight up right at Dogstorm's face when he says that, too.
I mean, he's much taller.
I know. It's interesting.
Go ahead, Greg.
Well, yeah. Was everybody a little bit surprised about this? Raftel!
I mean, that was my reaction reading it, too. So, I mean.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness we've got, some kind of hint out of these poneglyphs, finally, besides just weapons. Everybody's shocked, Raftel. We had a lot of commotion. Everybody's wondering, oh, tell us where it is. And Dogstorm's like, wait, chill out. Don't worry. Your princess is in another castle. There's not one road to the poneglyph. There's not one red road poneglyph. There are 4 of them. And Luffy has the greatest reaction in the world. What? There are 4 Raftels?
Love it.
And Usopp being the great straight man here, smacking him. And he basically goes on to explain how these work. And yes, this stone, it basically marks a point in the ocean or somewhere in the world, but that is not Raftel. The other 3 stones also point to 4 points in the world. And if you connect those 4 points, or you connect, I don't know how to describe this.
Connect the 4 points that are labeled on the poneglyphs themselves. So it's a little complicated because it's not the poneglyphs that are marking the point.
You basically make an X, and as Indiana Jones says, X never marks the spot, but well, here it does, of course. So yeah, how great for a pirate series to have an X literally mark the spot. I mean, come on.
That's cool.
And you get basically Raftel when you connect them.
Not to be a killjoy, but could you just get 3 of them and connect them yourself?
No,
you could,
because you don't know where they would.
Because you don't know where it intersects.
Because it's not necessarily perpendicular. Because my mind is just they're all perpendicular.
no.
All right, just getting that out of the way.
Yeah,
asking the dumb questions that one else wants.
I was actually thinking about this. Like, they'd have to be relatively close together. They can't be like around the world, kind of like they're displayed in this map, which obviously we cannot go by. That's just imagination.
Right.
Because if they were spread around the world, you wouldn't know how to connect them. So they've got to be relatively close together. And the location of the final island, which, for hundreds of years has only been reached by the King of Pirates, Raftel. And we get another look at Raftel, and immediately I went back to chapter 105, and it was just like, oh my god, compare this. And I compared it. The differences are minimal, but there's a little bit more cloud cover, and it looks a little bit more actually rugged than it did in the original. The original looks like there are actually possibly windows or structures built into the side of the cliffs. This one, you could argue it either way. It either looks like a mountainside or there could be an entrance up there. It's not entirely clear.
I mean,
I feel like I see some pillory looking things like a Colosseum type.
Yeah, like
structure.
those could be pillars or they could be cliffs.
Right.
I mean, I went back and looked at the Ancient Kingdom from the volume 42, I think it was, and it does look kind of similar if you imagined it, looking at it perpendicularly with clouds.
There's a lot from around the world that if you go back and look at that Ancient Kingdom that could look like it. So
yeah, I mean that might that's just
me
going nuts.
I agree completely. I mean, if you even look at that structure that Jinbei found in the cover story,
right.
I mean, even that's very similar. So, but you could make arguments for and against it. But yeah, that's where we are. Yay.
And then we get this panel of Luffy looking all Luffy-like and excited, and he says, "It's finally time. The place where we might find, or might not, you never know, the One Piece." And everyone starts celebrating. All right.
I'm sorry.
Wait, may or may not the One Piece?
What?
I love how like this is a very Japanese type of phrase. Is the you might or might not. But like what a like buzzkill in your sentence. Like, oh yeah, it's the place where we're gonna find the One Piece, or maybe not. Yeah.
But I see it as a sign that Luffy he doesn't care he doesn't really care that much if it's there. He just cares about getting there, going the distance, being the person who did what no one else did. Like he'd probably take it pretty well if it turned out there never was a treasure.
Yeah, he would. He's a weirdo.
That's true. Yeah.
He's terrible. Anyway, everyone's all celebrating, going like, all right, we're going to go searching. Don't worry, we're going to get Sanji back in a jiffy, or at least Luffy yells that. And, Usopp, of course, Captain Buzzkill, he says, where are you going to search? The world is huge. And then Cat Viper says, well, if you head for Whole Cake Island with Peckham's, then you're probably on the right track. And he continues to talk about the 4 road poneglyphs. He's going to start laying out where these guys are, or these giant tablets are. And he says, so there's only one that we really don't know where it is. One of them, obviously, is here. The other 2, however, they are already in the possession of some other pirates. And we get some nice big panels with, I'm going to say it right, Big Mom on the right and Kaido on the left.
Good job.
Those are the only 2.
Well done. There you go.
The guy in the middle.
That is Dog Viper. Anyways.
Very close. Proud of you, Drummer.
So those are the 2 who actually have the other 2 road poneglyphs. So I'm sensing sort of like an amalgamation arc between the 2 of them. That'll be awesome. But we'll talk about that later.
It does not say that in the chapter.
It does. No, this is me speculating.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. But he says each of them owns one of the other red stones. And everyone gets really excited. It's like, we got to go steal them. And Nami, of course, is very taken aback by that. She doesn't want to do it because that's scary. They're 2 emperors. What are they going to do? But Luffy, of course, doesn't care. He says, we're going to kick their asses anyway, so who cares if they have these road poneglyphs? And Usopp says, don't make it sound so easy. I could ignore it as the distant future until now, but the thought of them fighting them makes me pee my pants in fright. And he says, yeah. Wait, who actually says this line right
That's
here?
Chopper.
Is that Chopper? Okay, so yeah, I'll pee myself. Don't think I won't.
Jammer, I mean,
So
Chopper.
has anyone gone back and looked at Jinbei's cover story? Does it look like he has a lighter colored poneglyph?
So yeah, I was talking with Greg about that, and I don't think that it that
no more jokes,
Jinbei's,
Zach. Just stop.
Okay, I'm gonna go away.
I don't think that Jinbei's poneglyph has the shading on it, but
It does
on
not.
the other hand, it's like, well, what does that mean for it then? Because I think we were all sort of looking forward to that. Like, when is Jinbei going to show up with his poneglyph? What's it going to mean? And like, instead of getting that, now we have this other poneglyph that seems like immediately super duper important. And so now it's like, okay, well, what the hell is Jinbei? It's like, it's just going to be some letdown. It's just go, oh yeah, it's got some history on it.
It's actually it's going to be turn out to be a quick check poneglyph, and it's a roadmap to the ancient quick check.
It's the equivalent of that chapter of the Bible that's how, like, and Cain begat Abel, and Abel begat Stephen,
Yeah.
Methuselah begat Zach, and
Wow, I didn't realize I was that old.
Zach lived to be 960 years old.
And in my 961st year, I continued on the next page. Cat Viper explains, look, you don't even need to steal the poneglyph. You could just make a print. You could copy it. You could do some of that. What do you call it when you like use the chalk and you
rubbing
rubbing
or print?
Rubbing print. I know what he's talking about, because who would lug around these gigantic poneglyphs? And it was like,
except for Jinbei.
Except for Jinbei. Which is what I immediately thought of when I read this. There's a big fish guy I know who does that. Anyway, Usopp's like, yeah, this is perfect. Let's just make a copy. And before anyone realizes, we'll just slip off to Raftel, and there you go. You're the Pirate King right away. And then Luffy reacts like I react to every comment that Steve makes with that face. I don't quite know how to describe it. Whenever you hear Steve say something and you're imagining my reaction, that's the face I make. And often Jammer.
Wow, thank you.
I love how Luffy is disappointed by that, and like he's angry and he obviously doesn't want to do it, but he can't make an argument against it, and that's why he makes it.
I could imagine him ordering them. You know what? We're gonna make room for these poneglyphs. We're gonna actually take these giant slabs and throw them onto the ship somehow. Like I would see him doing that just because.
And by the
I hope that they're just so heavy that like if they ever tried to take one, they're just like, all right, guys, all right, good, we got it, and just drop it on Sunny. Woo! Goes straight through Sunny. Frankie just, oh my god, Adam Wood, no,
it's perfect. And then Usopp and Luffy start fighting, and it's funny. I don't think Luffy still says anything here. Usopp's just beating him up, I guess. Like, why are you disappointed? Who cares about being manly? Does he with a spear?
No, like he takes him down.
Oh yeah, I think he's Luffy. He's fine. So who cares about being manly? Why would you want to wage a war over this when we could just steal them like that? Anyway, Cat Viper continues. More importantly, I'm worried about you, Nico Robin, since anyone interested in the Void Century is out there collecting prints of the poneglyphs as well, but none of them will be able to read it. So when the time comes, they're going to want to know the truth, and so all the big players of the world will be after Yugana. And I think this stops momentarily the fight between Usopp and Luffy, which is, again, very one-sided, it seems. After Robin just has a placid expression on her face as she says, no, I don't mind. I've got very powerful friends who will protect me. Which is after... It took a while.
Luffy's hand waving thing he does there. I
love
that.
Well, let's just say some of the most disturbing / funny faces in the series take place after that, as Luffy does what I could only describe as a Sanji reaction. Chopper Wacha in Kung Fu Point can't take a compliment as usual. Usopp saying, yeah, I'm not going to let anyone lay a finger on Robin. I got this slingshot right here. Don't worry.
Brooke and Frankie are there too.
Brooke and Frankie are there. They're smiling. And Nami is making the creepiest face I've
ever
seen.
Fire. She's on fire.
She is.
She is. You're right.
That is one of my column.
Okay, I hope your whole column is about this face.
Her face actually looks like her gender swapped face that they did in the SBS
one. It's an odd face. Is all.
Hey man,
sinister face
before broveries.
Wow.
Gotta write that one down.
Oh man, so good.
And I love Cat Viper's laugh. By the way, explaining that you have some hardy companions here. Which is the most piratey term I've ever heard to describe them.
Isn't that panel of Robin? I mean, you got to read through Enies Lobby to appreciate that panel. Oh, what a great panel!
It's great. It's great. And then also Robin also asks, "How do you know about poneglyphs?" And this leads into, I think, the denouement here, Erin.
So Cat Viper explains that story starts long in the past when our Lord Kozuki Oden began to develop an interest in the stones. And he starts trying to talk about that, and he asks Dogstorm for permission, and Dogstorm then looks at Momonosuke because Momonosuke is their feudal lord. And Momo says, I don't mind. There's no need to hide secrets from them. Tell them anything you wish. And then Luffy gets kind of pissed off about that. He's like, what do you mean you don't mind? Trying to act all bossy again. And I love him just like, I don't want to say fingering Momo. That's kind of weird. But like,
He's finger blanking him.
Yeah, finger banging him, right?
Okay.
No,
Finger banging.
Finger boink.
finger
That's so
boink.
much
There we
better.
go.
It's like
Boink,
finger
boink, boink.
pistoling, but with a boink.
Oh my god. Okay.
No, that's an actual thing that exists in the series. It's finger pistol, right? That's what it's
Yeah.
called. Yeah.
Yes, it
It's
does.
definitely not called finger banging though.
Not in the Viz translation. No.
And so then Cat Viper continues that for generations, the Kozuki clan of Wano has been a line of stonemasons cutting and carving stone. And even now, their skill with rock is unparalleled. And everybody's surprised by this.
Who carves the poneglyphs? We do.
Exactly. So, yeah, he explains that in 8 centuries in the past, the Kozuki clan created indestructible stone documents, the poneglyphs. And we get this really cool panel of like each, I guess, generation of Kozuki men carving into these stones, going further and further into the distance. And I just think it's really cool.
I guess that makes them pone masons.
No.
Get out of here.
Yes.
It kind
Zach,
of
did you make that face, Zach?
Yes, I did.
this kind of reminds me of like the intro to like Lord of the Rings or something. It's like, oh, back into the historical past, and they're like fashioning the poneglyphs. Like,
Yeah, it is kind of like that.
It
I
kind of
like that.
reminds me of Avatar. You know, whenever they would like explain the avatars and have like all of them lined up going way back. Am I the only person who's seen that here?
Oh,
No,
the
I've
TV
seen it.
show. I thought you were talking
Oh,
about the
yeah.
movie for a second.
No, not the shitty movie, like
Oh.
the
No, I thought it was like
animated series.
such
such
a
a
shit
nice
movie.
Cameron movie. I'm like, what? I don't remember that scene.
I hope there's something important about the steam and the water and what seems to be fire in the background.
Oh, I just.
Uh,
Sorry, go ahead.
That's important to the actual carving process, because otherwise they just have a fucking hammer and a chisel, and like anybody could have made this stuff. So I hope there's something really important about the process that only these people could do it.
I mean, you take silhouettes with a grain of salt. Also, the language itself may have been something that only they, like they could have been. I did not notice in the following panel that Frankie's whale hair is also a gasp.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
I just noticed that this second,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
I needed to share
Shock
it
whale.
I think you interrupted your last thought to say that.
because it's important. This is the important thing that happened in this chapter. Anyway, Erin, please continue.
So yeah, everybody, including Frankie's hair, is really shocked, except for Law, who maybe is shocked on the inside, but he's just too cool to show that.
That's my other article point.
And Robin is shocked as well, and she says that the clan that crafted the poneglyphs scattered all over the world. And Luffy's sort of shocked that Momo is part of this clan. Momo explains that he didn't make them, it was his long distant ancestors.
I love Luffy. He's me. Like, I would literally go to him and go, "You fucking made this shit?" And he'd be like, "No, dumbass."
I think we figured out Jammer. We finally figured Jammer out. Jammer's just Luffy. That's all it is. Okay, go ahead, Steven.
So Luffy asks the adult samurai here, do you know what's written on them? And Kanjuro says, no, they did not pass down the information. You have to read the stone to learn the contents. And really the only thing that they would pass down was how to read the runes themselves. I guess maybe they had some rule that you could never like speak aloud the information that was contained on them or something like that. However, it seems like Momonosuke would have been next to learn how to do this, but the process was cut short during Oden's generation. And it's kind of interesting because
I was actually going to ask, when do you think is the time the last poneglyph was made?
Oh.
Because Odin took an interest in them, like people in his family hadn't taken an interest in them in a while. That's what they made it sound like, at least.
Right. Well, the other thing is, are they talking about how to make the stones, or are they talking about how to read the poneglyphs? Because that would seem to have at least like some kind of conflict with what we've been told, which is all about how Robin's the only one, Ohara's the only place that knows how to read the runes.
Well, it would make sense why Doflamingo really wanted Momo, and if he was able to read it, that would be an extra icing on the cake.
True.
Yeah.
And now he has someone to teach him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is true. And they're like, well, cut short. What does that mean? Brooke asks, is something wrong with Momonosuke's father?
Sorry,
And
he's so dumb. It's like, what happened? Did he get sick? What's going on?
he lost his voice.
You can't talk?
No, come
Turned
on, guys.
into a dog?
This is very serious. Kinemon says, Lord Odin, something is wrong with Lord Odin. Something is wrong with Wano. And both Kinemon and Momo are, they're holding back the sobbing. They're holding back their tears as they hear in their mind the words of Odin saying, "I am Odin. I was born to boil."
Hey!
Yes, if you remember from last week, we were talking about Odin, how it's a type of stew.
And Oda was talking about eating Odin this year, right?
Yes, he has mentioned that.
It's author
time or
comments,
two.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now it's interesting. You could see this as like, okay, does that mean like, is this literally in context? Like, are they going to boil him alive in this this scene that he is speaking from, or is it more of like a, I'm going to hell to boil or something like that? You don't frighten me with that. I guess we may find out later if this is ever elaborated upon. But the grief continues.
A Wano flashback of some sort.
Oh,
at some point.
absolutely, of course.
Yeah.
Wasn't boiling a pretty common like torture technique in feudal Japan?
Was it?
I seem to remember reading something about that.
It sounds like.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's phrases that that basically mean it's kind of like "do what you will" to me, like "sticks and stones may break my bones" sort of thing. But it means literally to boil me or to burn me. And so
And the pun that works so well. Come on.
Right. Yeah, it works here. So I made sure to get that in. Everyone is mournful. Kanjuro, Raizo, even Cat Viper and Dog Storm. And is this kind of passive aggressive here? He's like, okay, no, it's fine. You don't have to explain if you don't want to. Like, don't say anything.
Luffy's done this before, right?
Yes, I think this is the same face as when he sees that the pigeon Hato speaks. I'm pretty sure it's the same face.
Oh man. But yes, the sad truth is that Lord Odin was put to death, and shockingly, it was by the Shogun of Wano and the pirate Kaido.
Hey, we called this shit.
Triple interrobang.
Yeah, that's a triple.
Well, I think we may have called it was by Kaido. I don't know about the Shogun. That's kind of a shocker.
Oh, wait, so it's two people, or is it that two adjectives to describe Kaido?
I think it's two people, right?
Yeah, I thought it was two people.
Two people.
Yeah.
I assumed it was Shogun of Wano and the pirate Kaido.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay,
It's two
it's not,
people.
it's two people. But I know what you're saying. You're saying he has two titles. Or
That's
one
what
person.
I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Much like King of Dressrosa and Seven Warlord Pirate, Pirate in the Seven Warlords, Doflamingo. But
Right.
Yeah,
See, and you criticized me last week for bringing that up.
Doflamingo.
No, that like, what if Kaido was actually
Well,
like?
apparently he's not, and I thought I was gonna give you full credit. I forgot. he
See?
said that. I forgot.
The reason why I don't think that is because, well, it'll be on the next page, but they mentioned that he is in Wano. So that, if he was the Shogun, that would kind of be obvious, right? Like that wouldn't be a shock after you just heard
but
that
who
he was the Shogun.
Who is the? Oh no, but I mean, who's saying that that Wano, that Kaido's in Wano, like in a shocked way? Isn't it the Straw Hats? I mean, how would the Straw Hats know who the
No,
Shogun
Well,
is?
why don't we
the
just get to
samurai.
the next page and we'll
Yeah.
see.
Let's do that.
Okay, yeah. Greg, finish this off.
Kaido, and we get face shots of the crew and Law, and even Law speaks of Kaido. Yep, and we get to reveal that Kaido, the Emperor of the Sea, and the Animal Kingdom pirates are in Wano, and nobody is surprised, because we called that. So Zoro speaks up.
Nobody meaning the readers, not the.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was gonna say. Well, they've already wasted their shock faces.
Yeah, they're all shocked, of course. Then Zoro speaks up, and this is nice. Finally, we get some Zoro interaction, because as of late he's just the kind of stand off to the side, occasionally talk to Luffy guy. You don't have to answer this question, but what did your boss do to get executed? He kind of inquires about this, and he wonders that does it have something to do with all of the really terrible things that they've been through since they've left Wano. And Kinemon admits that yes, his crime was grievous, and Kaido was trying to get some information out of him, and that's because the Lord Kozuki Oden was one of the rode with the King of the Pirates, Goldie Roger, to Raftel, the last island of the Grand Line, and it was there that he learned the secret of the world. What?
And the name of that secret is.
Oh, I'm sorry, Trevor. I didn't mean to shoot you there.
Immediately back to chapter, 19. Went to Roger's crew, Buggy's flashback, and looked for potential Odens. Yeah. There are a couple people. There are a few that are around that could possibly be Oden. It depends what kind of guy. Personally, I'm looking at the guy who's there's a fellow that has like devil horn hair, and he's got a scar on his left eye. Somebody that's to the left of him. He's got a shaved head. And there are a few other background characters that look like they could possibly be Oden, but nothing really definitive. I also went to chapter 0 to see if anybody was on Roger's crew, and there's literally no one.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. I also had that urge. I forgot about chapter 19.
Yeah, there's literally nobody there who looks like they could be, unless he's a very normal looking fellow.
That's unlikely.
Yeah.
Forget my ignorance, but did Buggy and Shanks actually ride to Raftel with him, or did they branch off before that?
That's a good question.
Because if that's the case,
I was wondering that myself.
If that's the case, then it may not be anybody on that page or those pages, because they may not have been. He may not have boarded the ship at that point.
Well, chapter 0. I mean, I was reading through it. It happens 2 years before he gets to Raftel, correct? I mean, he's already sick, Roger, in that, from what I could tell, but he had not yet reached Raftel. That's
chapter
right.
0. No, I don't think it's that long, is it? I didn't actually read through it.
Or maybe it was 2 months. I read through it briefly, but it was some time before they actually reach it. I think it was 2 years.
Where they have the Edo, or
the
Ed
Battle
War?
of the Ed, or whatever it is, the Ed War. I forgot what it was called. I don't know. I just skimmed through it, so that definitely happened prior. So it's very likely that Oden joined them toward the end, since, I mean, let's be honest, we're getting geographically close to the end here. And also, I mean, Crocus was on board. I mean, they kind of made that obvious because we just had learned that recently. And the fact that he was sick was mentioned because that was also just learned right before chapter 0 as well.
So great chapter, getting me to 2 times interrupt my reading and go up and go through old volumes to search through things. So great job, Oda.
Let's go through general thoughts, and I'm sure there's a lot we're going to want to dive into here. I'm going to start with Steven, if you're ready.
Okay, well, actually, first of all, I want to point out this is a very minor thing, but some people might find this interesting. In this last panel where Kinemon is talking about the King of the Pirates, it's interesting to note that in the Japanese, so whenever there's somebody D something, the D is always written as the letter D with the dot, and he does not say it that way. He says it in katakana, like it's kind of like written out phonetically, and I take that to mean like, Kinemon is not familiar with the outside ways, and so that's him just sort of parroting the sound, like he doesn't understand the alphabetical significance of it.
Oh, geez, Steven, that's
cool.
great.
So I could have written it out like gold, like DEE, like, Homer J type thing. But I thought like putting that in would make it confuse. Like, would people understand that? Like, it wouldn't really make sense, if you weren't reading it in Japanese. So I left it as is. But there's just a little funny character note.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's wow. That's really.
So
cool.
is it like day?
It's like.
No, he says it the same way. It's just not written with the D letter.
How is that spelled? How do you
Um,
pronounce spellings?
Well, it's kind of hard to say
the-
Roman in Japanese. So when you make a specifically the D sound, like not day,
Mhm.
or not G, which is how they would normally say that with for like loan words. It's a day, the day with a small E
Mm.
I sound. So like
So it's like a
pronounced,
compound.
It's like
yeah,
Disney.
kind of, yeah. It's how they would say
Disney. Yeah.
right?
Um,
Yeah.
this is very similar to the Pirates of the Sun, the Tayo. How they would say Tayo with katakana because they didn't understand the concept of the sun.
Right.
Wow, very very cool. I didn't notice that at all.
I mean, does this also kind of, I'm going to stoke my own theory here. I think a big theory that's been going around the internet and in the One Piece connection as well is that D is either a pictograph or something in the alphabet, like the Roman alphabet or the one that we use here.
Right, that it's not short for something, but it's like kind of visual information.
Right, and I feel like that kind of may go to show that it's definitely supposed to be written in, I don't want to say English, but as an actual D.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's pretty interesting.
Years ago had that theory about the half moon thing in the D.
Oh yeah.
And I have since, given my position, come to somewhat modify that theory. But I'm pretty sure that D stands for something. I would anticipate that standing for something.
You don't want to say it here?
No.
Okay. Stephen, yeah, you could continue.
All right, yeah. So, man, as for the chapter itself, like, yeah. No, the first thing, I mean, obviously, it's like every other page is pretty much like a huge bombshell, and I wouldn't necessarily say that any of this stuff was just kind of shockingly out of left field. Like a lot of these things are either stuff that we could have guessed or that we surmised in some way or another, but having it laid out and having so many like morsels of information laid out makes it's definitely a landmark chapter, and I feel like it's going to be viewed as similar to like the chapters where we first learned about like the Grand Line or about
the world government.
About the world government or the seven warlords or something, because it very clearly kind of frames what we have coming ahead. And in this particular case, it's not so much that it frames it as it like contains it, because it suggests that, okay, this element leads to like the actual end goal. It's not just like this is the thing we have to do to get further. It's like this is leading us to where we actually want to go at the end of the series. Purportedly, at least to the grand goal of Luffy's quest, and that is really exciting in some ways, and it's you feel a little apprehensive in certain ways just because it's like, that this is like the clearest sign yet that we have an end goal in sight, that the number of possible arcs left is kind of limited by the virtue of this, anything that he does to prolong like how many arcs we need, or how we will get to the end of the series after this will kind of smack a little bit of artificial and longing of the story. So that just by itself, it makes this huge. And I don't know, I'll let someone else take the reins from here.
Greg.
I was talking with Stephen a little bit earlier. Usually Stephen and I get to go into chapters pretty well on our own. We'd have a lot of discussions about them, and unfortunately this one we have not. Just timing has not worked out. And I briefly commented that a lot of people are saying greatest chapter in years, best chapter since end of Enies Lobby, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's a very important chapter. I wasn't left surprised. As Stephen mentioned, it's, a lot of this. I don't know if some of us could have guessed this. I mean, if anybody guessed the road poneglyphs or like, what their significance is, I mean, kudos. That's amazing, because I would have never guessed anything like that existed. But everything makes sense. It makes logical sense for the story to take this direction and for him to set up the idea of these 4 points.
Greg, I think you have to anticipate that a lot of people haven't thought about the series as deeply as you have.
Yeah, I guess there's that. But what I want to say is I was expecting something out of the blue. We've got these poneglyphs that there's one that we don't know where it is. The one that is an X factor, and that's cool. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in a mystery or something that we don't know about. But this is unfortunately telling us a lot about what we need to know to get to the end point, which is great for any story. It's great, but also I should mention how it ties everything together so well is also very important for Oda, and it takes a lot of pressure off of him to know that he has this exciting idea for how to find Raftel. He had to come up with something interesting for it, and he has. So that's great. I think we're going to find out a lot more detail about those 4 points and actually getting to Raftel. Like, does it involve visiting those 4 points? How are we going to split people up?
What was the word that people used last week? It's like an RPG term for when you find out the things you have to gather before you end the quest. Fetch quest.
Fetch quest. Yes. Perfect. And I'm happy with all this information, but there's no dawn for me. I mean, it's great to know that Oden was in Goldie Roger's pirate crew. It's great to know that we all have motivation to take care of the emperors now. I mean, not that Luffy didn't, but I mean, now we literally have a reason that he must get that information. But I was looking for something else, something that wasn't expected, that not just wasn't expected, but that nobody could have possibly imagined being important about this. And we didn't quite get that. And I was a little, not disappointed, but I don't know. It's bitter. It's melancholy happiness is what I think this chapter was. And I think a little bit of that.
As an end point in sight.
Yes. And that's what they left me with. Also, I haven't been on a lot, so I haven't been able to vocalize this, but as far as Big Mom is concerned, I cannot see, I can see her being an antagonist, but I cannot see anything happening other than them ending up as friendly, or at least allied in some point by the end of this. Because when Luffy became friends, how they've handled themselves with Peckhams is just way too friendly. And I don't think Oda would want to turn that character into an actual villain that would want to harm them. I don't know what's going to happen. Like Whole Cake Island, that is a huge question mark to me. Wano, I have a really good idea of what's going to happen. But Whole Cake Island is one of the most interesting points, and I want to see how he's going to carry that arc and handle the characters. That is what I'm most interested in right now. And I don't know, I might have some other things to comment on. I mean, a lot to say, obviously. I haven't been on for a while, but that's where I think I'm at. And really good chapter, but I was looking for something a little bit more unexpected.
Sam, what did you think?
I mean, it's kind of hard to add on to what other people have said, but I think this is a really cool chapter in that it came up with such an elegant solution to get to sort of clarifying, again, the sort of end goal subplots of the story, in that now we now have a clear way towards Raftel. Like, we know what Luffy needs to do in order to get notably closer, and in ways that no other character in the series has been able to do outside of Roger and his crew. And knowing that those keys are also sort of tied to the emperors is it just lays everything out all nice and clear, while still giving Oda wiggle room to pad it out more, like what Steven was saying. Although I think of a lot of what Oda does is already kind of artificial padding, so if he continues with that pattern, I won't be too disappointed, because I think it will be still kind of in line with what Oda's been doing for a long time now. But yeah, I don't know really what else to say that everyone else hasn't already said.
That's fine. Erin, what did you think of it?
Yeah. I just wanted to talk about Greg's point about Big Mom for a sec, 'cause I was thinking of something, but I didn't want to interrupt him. I also totally think that she will end up being friendly with the Straw Hats, mostly because I don't see Oda having Luffy beat a woman to a bloody pulp. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen. And also, it's already been established that the Vinsmokes are probably going to be the main antagonists of whatever Whole Cake Island ends up being, and that whole wedding arc. But I think the most important and interesting thing about this chapter for me was that it set up the immediate threat of what's going on in Wano. So now we have these two big important things that are going on. Sanji's missing and Kaido is in Wano. And I was thinking that this is going to pose a problem because you're going to have to pick one of the two. Which one of these do we tackle first? But then I remembered that Momo and Kinemon, they've been running for a while now. So they have no reason to go back to Wano, I guess. Like, they were either sent from the kingdom or left the kingdom, obviously, to protect Momo. But I don't know if they ever intended to go back and save Wano themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Unless we find out some more detail to their story in like the next chapter or two that makes it much more immediately, much more pressing.
Right. Like, we have to go back. But
I said Floss flashback. Can you say that?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
We have to go back.
But I think that, this does give the Straw Hats a reason to take down each of the four emperors, which you really didn't have before, aside from the Pirate Alliance with Law, which I don't think even Law was really taking seriously because he just wanted to take down Doflamingo.
Really makes me think that they're going to go after Big Mom first instead of going to Wano.
Yeah, I think she's a good first step, especially because I don't think she will be a physical threat to the Straw Hats.
We already have Peckhams.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yep.
So they'll go up against Big Mom, sort of see what an emperor is like, what her influence is, what her crew is like, which I imagine is going to be huge and awesome.
Crazy.
So yeah, that's where I see things going, and I'm super excited to see it.
That being said, Oda isn't really one to worry about having I guess a random character from another crew sort of hang around for a while as another arc plays out, as we've seen from like Kinemon and stuff. Well, I guess he's not another pirate group, but other characters.
They pull Peckhams with them,
or Caesar.
Yeah,
or Caesar. Like, it wouldn't be weird if they decide to tackle Kaido first. I mean, I don't think they are, but it wouldn't be completely random if they did that.
No, they're not going to.
Jammer, what did you think of the chapter?
I thought the chapter was pretty good. I definitely feel what Greg is talking about, where I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, but at the same time, there definitely seems to have been sort of a missing button. Well, I wouldn't say missing. It's not there. It just isn't. There's a lot of great stuff scattered around the entire chapter, but I was expecting sort of one final little, I don't know, kick to the pants based on your reaction, Zach. And it didn't have it, but it wasn't a letdown of a chapter by any means. But I really love what Oda's patience that he's had, setting up Kinemon way back in Punk Hazard and having us slowly collect each of these men. And finally we have them all in the same room, and we finally are able to unravel this greater mystery and how it affects the entire story and affects Luffy's goal to find the One Piece. And it's pretty rewarding to see, but as he said, kind of bittersweet, because this is a series that we've been... Sorry?
It really cast them in the Vivi mold of having been with the crew and become part of the crew as for a long time, Kinemon and Momonosuke, to make the emotional hit of their arc greater.
Right, exactly. And but at the same time, it is bittersweet, as Greg said, because this is a series that we've been watching or reading for almost decades now. More than a decade. Almost 2 decades now. And this is the first time where we could see the end of the tunnel. We could see where the points are heading or where they're leading. And it's just sort of wow, this is, it still could be another 5 to 10 years, but at the same time, we could see the end. And that's sort of a new feeling. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty crazy. That aspect, if you think about it too much, it is a bit weird.
If I was a betting man, I would say that we would do Big Mom. However, that's going to be dealt with. I think it's going to be Wedding Crashers, the manga.
Yeah, everyone wants to do Big Mom.
Yep.
Oh God.
She's a virgin.
No.
She's a mom.
How does
She's a
Ed
big
know that?
mom. She has 35 daughters.
Oh, that's true. Good point. Good point. Good point.
This.
Be adopted. They made of food.
True.
And let's see. Right. We'll go to Wano. After that, we'll deal with Wano. Hopefully, just have a big elephant walk right into Wano. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
We'll deal with Wano. Wano's going to be enormous. I'm going to say that Wano is probably going to be another Dressrosa because Oda wants to do Wano more than anything in the series I think that he's done so far.
I'm excited to find out what the deal with the current Shogun is, like what his story is and whatnot, what kind of guy he
Current
is.
Shogun, he sounds. I don't know if he's going to be one of those people who set up to be a villain, but was really had some strings pulled or something like that. But he sounds like a really nasty guy.
Yeah.
Sounds like Kaido can hold anybody hostage, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could also be that he's been pressed into this by
It could be.
Mhm.
But since I see Momonosuke being Shogun when he grows up, I have a feeling that he's a nasty guy. That's just my gut instinct there.
I have a hard time imagining that it's going to be 2 Emperor arcs in a row.
What's left, man? What's
yeah,
left?
it's like what else could be?
Super Rookies.
They'll be involved.
But they're all part of this now. I mean,
They're not
Yeah.
strong enough to lead.
Well, because one of my theories has always been we're going to see some titles as far as like rookies and emperors and stuff like that changing hands at some point. Like I think like Kid or somebody's going to murder one of the emperors or something.
Well, there's all these wild cards.
Or
as well.
we're going to see other
Sam.
not necessarily
The
kids.
wild card
like,
of the missing road poneglyph, Burgess and Blackbeard going to Baltigo, and also Whitebeard
I
Jr.
really want to see like Luffy and like another group of rookies like competing over the same emperor. Or
No,
something.
but
That-
Sam,
that'll
you're also
yeah.
thinking of this backward. It's not like, oh, who's going to be the next warlord? Who's going to be the next emperor? I think at this point in the series, we are dismantling the constructs that have held the One Piece world up until this point, which is kind
I
of
see
how you
that.
know we're getting to the end. I mean, when people have been asked, oh, who's going to be the new 7 warlord to replace Doflamingo and Law? I don't know if we will get one. I mean, we might, but they're not gonna. I mean, Weevil, I think, is the perfect example of someone who's like, kind of like, okay, this doesn't really matter anymore. We have 2 emperors ahead of us, and we have
Like
now the
Buggy's
One Piece ahead of
Buggy,
us.
Buggy is a warlord now, and his giants left him, so the giants are going to get involved.
Yeah,
Well,
I
okay.
kinda
no,
agree
hold-
with- I agree
if
with
I
getting
can
a little
go-
off
go
track,
back,
Greg.
if
Yeah.
I can go back just for a second, because I'm going to bring in some of that. I'm talking basically big arcs,
Mhm.
like meaty arcs. There's always a chance for Oda to do something like he's doing right now, Zoe, which is basically a cooldown arc, which is great. I originally
I guess
said I thought like 840 for this to end, and nah, I don't think so.
I'll double check that number.
Yeah. But here's the thing. After we do Wano's going to be great. It's going to be huge. You're going to see the Straw Hats tested for the first time, probably.
I hate to say who you sound like when you say it's
So
gonna be
classy.
great, it's gonna be huge, it's gonna be classy, it's gonna be gold.
You're not gonna
everything's
believe
be
this,
gold.
And then, since that's going to be such a, I mean, but it's going to be huge. It's going to be such a big arc that it's going to rock the world. Because I'm going to say that since Luffy's not going to kill anyone, probably Blackbeard will finish that battle off, and he will kill
Oh, that son
Kaido.
of a bitch! I forgot about him.
So
Yeah.
that's
I'm
that's when
definitely
he becomes.
anticipating some wrenches in the works. Is I guess.
All
what
right.
I'm
Oh yeah,
saying.
yeah.
So that's we'll have that. Then, since Luffy now and Blackbeard are basically going to be capturing the attention of the whole world, unless there's a backtrack to the Reverie, and the Reverie is also super fucking important. We don't know, we assume it's going to be in Marijoa, but who knows? All right.
And we assume it's probably going to be fairly soon-ish.
Yeah. Well. You know what would be interesting if? Never mind. This is not the time for that.
It'd be
Sorry.
interesting.
No,
Sorry.
Greg,
It's
I want to
absolutely
hear.
the time
There's
for
too
that.
much story.
No, that'd be
There
funny
is-
if they find the One Piece and then the Reverie happens.
Greg, I'm only allowing you one pass and not explaining what you were about to say, and you've taken it already. So what about the
No.
Reverie?
It's just it's going into look. But hold on. So okay. Whole Cake Island, Wano. We need a massive cooldown, and I think the coolest place to do that would be Elbaf, and
Oh
that would be
yeah.
that would be a great place for Luffy and company to be safe, where they are right now. It's a great excuse for them to to get there for Usopp to close a lot of loose ends.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be a wonderful place for them to visit right before the final arc, and then the final arc. And my feelings on especially if you're a longtime listener, just what a world war it's going to turn into, and how everyone's going to be split up. But I think that's going to lead into that. What happens after that is, I don't know how Reverie fits into that, and that's another big question mark in my mind. But I guess it's chapters like this where we do find out a lot of these answers. How are they going to find Raftel? Where we find out. I think I enjoy as a mystery more than finding out what it's going to be.
Yeah, like I don't know if I'm thrilled at the idea that most of the islands we're going to be visiting from this point forward are places we've heard of already.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know that. I mean,
I totally get what you mean, though. I understand what it would be like if there's no mystery. Then that's it goes back to what I'm talking about. This chapter is,
There's less
okay,
mystery
so
now.
this is the answer. Oh, okay, all right. So, and this is why I guess we were joking about Lost. It's like,
I was gonna say,
when we get answers for stuff, it's like, oh, really? Oh, okay. And that was how I kind of felt this chapter. Like, it makes sense. It is beautiful. It is elegant how it wraps everything together. But it's also like, oh, all right. Well, I guess this really does mean that we are going to have, we basically know where we're going to be going.
But Greg, there has to be an end to One Piece. I mean, believe it or not, guys, there has to be an end at some point.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I guess I was just hoping for something else mysterious in there.
Well, I mean, the mysterious thing is what you said, is that there's another poneglyph. We don't know where the four lines are, where they cross, what actually Raftel is. There's still a ton of mystery.
What's actually going to happen when we meet Big Mom? What's actually going to happen when we meet Kaido?
Who is Jacob?
Although Kaido,
that's the real question here. And who's that man in black? Will we ever learn his name?
Who is Jacob? Not Jake. Who is Joy Boy?
Who is Joy Boy?
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, every single time you guys mention some sort of loose plot thread, like the story just stretches out even farther. It's like, oh, we're nowhere near the end, guys. Come on, we're good.
Now, speaking of expectations, I'm going to direct this question to Zach, but anyone can answer this.
Ooh, a question.
Was anyone else? I guess I was a little surprised, and I wouldn't say disappointed, just because I didn't have like a lot writing on it, but it took me aback that he revealed that the poneglyphs were created specifically by the stonemasons of Wano, and not by the ancient kingdom. Yeah, which was what I always assumed.
In that respect.
And he said me.
Well, I think it's significant. Wano has never been a member of the world government. They've been, they've been resisting it since the beginning. So it kind of it makes sense in that way. It makes logical sense. It's great.
He stole my answer, but yeah, I would agree. I think Wano is the perfect candidate to have a lot of these mysteries begin to be solved, and we're seeing that here. I think the fact that the crest of Kozuki is so involved in the poneglyphs as well. Just goes to show that.
Do you think? Well, this is something that I wonder too, or the thing that maybe set off a little red flag in my head, which is that, well, if that means that Wano, assuming that this the poneglyphs are connected to the ancient kingdom in some very important way, does that run the risk of and this is easier to see, I think, as an outsider, but obviously Wano is like Oda's chance to depict this old-timey Japan. It's his way for him to kind of get out of his system all of these kind of old-fashioned Japanesey things that he loves so much, all of the kabuki and the just all of his real traditional interests. Does it run the danger of kind of making this suddenly turn into, like, oh my God, like the most important nation in the history of the One Piece world is this like super old time Japan land, or is somehow related to it?
No, for a huge reason. For a huge reason.
I'm curious about this answer, because I would have said yes.
It's very important why he's setting Wano up the way he is, especially even with that D that you mentioned. All right, so we know that they're closed. He obviously loves Japan. I wouldn't call him a nationalist, but he loves his country.
We all love our country.
You go through a lot of his comments in the past, and he's very proud of Japan. But he also loves the world. And Wano is going to be the chance for him not only to bring out the things he loves about Japan, but to destroy the closed-mindedness. That's going to be the theme of the arc, is destroying closed-mindedness. And that's the theme of the series overall.
Wow.
And I think he's going to really rip in to a lot of social issues in Japan, old and new, and maybe not intentionally. You know, I don't think he sets out intentionally to do a lot of that stuff. But not only things that he loves, but also things that he's very frustrated about. And I think that a lot of that's going to come out in Wano.
And then when they get to the American island, they will destroy an evil orange tyrant.
So are you saying everyone's going to mispronounce Luffy's name as Matthew Perry? Is that pretty much what's going to happen?
Oh. I thought you were going to say Tom Cruise, but okay.
Yeah, Luffy's going to be the last samurai.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. I would not have even thought of that. I think Oda has a really coy way of making that kind of current social commentary. I think most of the terrible things he depicts, I think the best example, which was a little prescient and probably more prescient than he thought it was Law's flashback with the lead poisoning. Considering how, when he wrote it, I don't think he imagined that, well, I guess it still is something that occurs around the world. But I mean, I wouldn't have seen that happening a few months later, you know, in what is supposed to be like the symbol for the free world. So I think, though, in all honesty, he does present some important issues that are prescient to today, but he does it in a way that the person reading it doesn't necessarily identify it with the thing that it's supposed to be. But you know.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point, because like one of the things I think is super interesting, like even though a lot of people don't like Fishman Island that much, one of the things I really admire about the Fishman Island arc is how it tells a story where racism is a clear issue and theme, but it doesn't tell the same kind of racism story that you would normally see.
What do you mean? No, what do you mean?
Well, it's like like if we're comparing like fishmen to like slaves or African Americans or something like that, like why, like Oda made fishmen the villains in that arc as well. Like it's not.
It's the teaching, the passing down of hatred being caused by other people's hatred, and
that was very much the aspect that Oda found interesting in that theme. And like I can't think of a comparison. I can't think of a story like that.
I think that was definitely, in my point of view, the thing that was best about the Fishman Island arc was that. And I think
respect what he did. I don't respect how he did it.
Yes, exactly, 100%, Greg.
See it done better in Zootopia.
Oh my god!
Get out!
There's enough furries in this arc. You don't have to go to Zootopia to get them. Is there anyone else who had an opinion before I start talking? Ed, I think.
I have opinions about the small. I mean, a lot of people talked about the plot and the larger plot, but I think that there are important characterizations in this very chapter that are important to talk about, especially with Robin and the way that she's very comfortable with the fact now that there are people who will stand up for her and, you know, put their lives in the line for her, and that is really awesome. That's like the most emotionally affecting part of the chapter for me. I'm not sure how everyone else felt about it.
Yeah.
That was a lot. That was great. That was a great moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also very interested in sort of the history of Wano as it relates to Odin, because as I mentioned earlier when we were going through the chapter, that Odin, long ago, but during his lifetime, he took an interest in the poneglyphs, which perhaps, you know, people hadn't taken an interest in the poneglyphs since they were created. So like, when was the last poneglyph created? What does, you know, Odin know, and why was he traveling with Roger to Raftel? Like, it's nice that we finally got the explanation about how anyone in Roger's crew was able to read the poneglyphs. That's very important, but I'm curious about that.
Yeah, and on that topic, I thought it was really interesting that Cat Viper mentioned that people who are interested in the poneglyph go and make these, what do you call them, the rubbings?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it implies that they're
the Vietnam Memorial, you know?
Yeah, that's what I've heard that from. Sorry, go ahead.
It also means that outside of Ohara, there are people who are researching the poneglyphs, or at least as far as Cat Viper knows, which I thought was really interesting, because I always thought it was just Robin at this point that the Marines had taken out anybody else. Like, even if they can't read them, they're still researching them.
Mm-hmm. How excited are you at the prospect of Robin being targeted? Isn't that awesome? I am it's a
little Schadenfreude right there.
I am so excited about this, because we've already done that, all right? And we've seen there's so much on my plate.
Please get it off. Get it off the plate. That's what this is for.
Luffy going off on his own. All right, I wasn't here to moan and groan about this, but there's nothing that angered me more than the idea of Luffy potentially going to the wedding alone. And I might, eat my shorts on that one. It might turn out to be awesome if that's how it ends up.
Don't have a cow, man.
Thank you. That
Nothing
does
wrong
not
with going stag.
That does not excite me at all. But the idea of somebody coming after Robin or Robin being targeted as a member of the crew, oh man, there's so much potential because there is no way in hell that Oda will do the same thing over again. He cannot. He will not. So how that could turn out is just so exciting. And it also brings potential for a named chapter, Nick Robin, the Devil Child, or the Devil of O'Hara, whatever her epithet was. It gives potential for that. And it also gives potential for, what is it? What is she? Damn it. The sixth person?
Or sixth, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I thought she already got that.
No, she did not.
Frankie and Usopp did.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And Chopper is the other one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Chopper is the other one. Yep.
That's really weird still.
It's really weird.
It is very strange, isn't it? Wait, she's in 6. Is she? Fuck. Oh, it's not person. That's why. Did I just figure that out? No.
Yes, you did. I agree.
Shammer has no idea what you're talking about, nor do I. Would you like to expound on what you're going to?
It's always been like first person, second person, third person, right? And like Robin and Chopper didn't match up properly. Like the numbering didn't work because Sanji was Gonime, right? He was 5th person.
Well, he was 4th because Zoro was 1st.
He's 4th. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, never mind. It means nothing then.
We
So
almost
she
heard
would be
Revelation
6th.
on the air.
Sorry. She was indeed 6th, and this brings up an opportunity for that to happen. I mean, I just picture some badass coming along the line, just like, there's Nick Robin, and she's just like, F you, I got my buddies here, and then everybody just going ape shit on them.
She just stands there and starts giggling about it. You're all getting beaten up.
So yeah, I'm with Ed. I loved that panel. And maybe that just comes from having read Enies Lobby in real time, but what a reward.
That's actually when I cut up as well.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm not quite as like. I mean, it brings the feels a little bit there. Don't get me wrong. I know how much was it Jammer who loves that phrase.
Yes,
he's a millennial.
But I don't know. I think it definitely would have struck me harder if I was reading that week to week. I caught up just as that concluded. I'll say my piece here, pun intended. This of course was like a chapter that was made for me. I feel like, Oda had me in mind. He had my face in it.
I mean, not quite. It doesn't have the moon, but everything else.
Yeah, I was about to say.
It's the one thing it was missing.
It's in there a couple times.
It's true.
On Rizo's face.
On Rizo's face.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And possibly hidden behind the crane that's in the family crest.
I mean,
the sun is in front, so
that's true. So that's supposed to be the sun. There's 8 points around it. So I meant to bring this up somehow.
It looks exactly like the sun on Frankie's t-shirt. So I'm guessing that's the sun.
Do you think there's any significance to the 8 points around? You don't think there's anything to that, or
actually, can anyone explain what Frankie's shirt means right now?
Did we ever figure that out?
No.
We talked about it. We
Yeah.
did talk about it, and I think the best one that we came up with was like it's read in reverse, and it's like I love the Thousand Sunny or something.
Yeah,
I still like Aitaio hentai, which means I want to meet a pervert.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I like that one too. But.
Yeah, that seems the most likely to me, but I mean, who knows?
I mean, I don't know if it looks very similar to Frankie's shirt, but at the same time, it looks a lot more pronounced. At least looking at it on the second 2-page spread. Here.
Wait, how many points did you say Frankie's shirt has?
I don't know
The
how
sun
many.
on
They
it?
both have a. What is he hiding?
No, I see it.
It's in the whale. It's in the whale in his head. Go into the tail of the whale on Frankie's head. This is turning into a Dr. Seuss book. I'm sorry. I mean, we predicted last week that the 4 whale tails on this really, it does not sound like I'm speaking English, on the Kozuki crest meant something, and that's actually, yeah. Well, I mean, but they also may represent the 4 poneglyphs, the 4 points and Raftel in the middle. I mean, we didn't know that that's what it was, but we thought that there was some significance to the 4. I think we even said maybe there were 4 elephants carrying 4 poneglyphs on it. Which, personally I like more than what we got, but I'm not going to complain too much here. And then Japan Airlines right in the middle for you.
Wait.
Japan Airlines, it's actually a fairly common family crest. There's a delivery company in Japan also that has a very, I mean, God, it looks exactly like the Rebel Alliance symbol, but
oh yeah, wow,
yeah, but they're all cranes, so not just Japan Airlines, but a lot of them have that.
Interesting.
So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm trying to remember where I was, but I think there's probably still some significance to be seen there. We haven't talked about this yet, and that's where things are going next. So Stephen, you don't have to say anything, but I mean, it seems to me that we're probably going into another flashback. Just
what? Sorry.
Jennifer does not agree.
I clearly disagree. Continue.
Well, let me just posit why I might think that. And just at the end, it seems like he's leading into a little bit more about Oden, and exactly where he was. I don't know if we're necessarily leading into a flashback about Oden, maybe. I mean, we've also been just kind of setting up things over the last few chapters, how Cat Viper, Dogstorm, the 3 samurai, and all of this fit into that story together. And I could definitely see whatever the story about Oden is, I am sure Dogstorm and Cat Viper are involved. And by the transitive property, eventually Momonosuke and the rest of them. And also just it's a black page leading into it. But what I was going to say is, if that is the case, it's pretty interesting, because the Zoe arc then would essentially be the storytime arc. Which I am happy about. I mean, this is it's structurally just so different.
Oda's like, basically, Oda's like, we just had one of the longest arcs in the series. Let me be perfectly honest. The popularity in One Piece is suffering a little bit over here. People are saying, Dressrosa was long. Yeah, Dressrosa was long. And that's the same attitude that was prevalent in the country around the time of Skypiea. So people are getting a little bit fed up. So now we're getting a lot of story. And a lot of story is important because it gives Oda a chance to have a lot of action later on. That's meaningful action. I think Dressrosa was a lot of meaningless action. And don't get me wrong. Yes, I get that everything had its representation and he did it elegantly for what it was. But I mean, we didn't feel united. We didn't feel like fighting for the people of Dressrosa as much as we want to be fighting for the crew, or see the crew fighting for something among themselves. And I think now that we've spent this much time with Kinemon and Momonosuke, obviously Sanji, I mean, hell, that's going to be amazing. I'm so pumped for that. But even Wano after it, we are emotionally attached to these characters. And it's like imagine having Rebecca on the crew for a long time. Okay, like positive, negative aside, like we would have been so much more involved in Dressrosa than we were. And
that's true.
This has been, Zach said it perfectly, the storytime arc, and it's wonderful because it just means the payoff is going to be that much better. Oh my God, it's going to be an amazing story.
Well, Stephen, go ahead. I think
we're going to get a whale of a tail and the whale tail.
Oh my God.
Hey,
whale of a tail, my friends.
I imagine a sort of Oda and Wano centered flashback happening after we've gotten a little more screen time with Kaido and the Shogun.
I mean, I see it happening now.
No, it's too soon. They're not even close to the conflict yet.
Well, I mean, we'll find out next week, so it's fine.
I know that, but I'm positing my opinion why I think it wouldn't. I might be wrong, but
the thing is, it feels like, I mean, I think we've read One Piece long enough at this point to kind of to see where things go, kind of the patterns that Oda lays out. And Oda's been putting breadcrumbs about this. And I don't know if those breadcrumbs necessarily mean that the loaf of bread and the kids in the gingerbread house, or whatever the hell I'm talking about, is in the next chapter. But it's definitely approaching. We're reaching, I don't want to call it a crescendo, but we're reaching that point. And he's been dropping hints to it. I personally think it would be fine if we see this arc. I mean, this last page is setting it up. This last page is, and Odin died, and he blah blah blah, and he went on he was on Goldie Roger's ship, and boom. It just feels like the next. We're gonna go into a story here, and
or it
Zoro,
could be like that. It could be like that chapter in Dressrosa where Law explains that Corazon was Doflamingo's brother, and we all thought that would lead into a flashback, and then we got one like 10 weeks later.
Good.
That was the
counterpoint.
worst.
That was the worst. I'm hoping Oda's learning his mistakes. I'm also going through this, and this is completely off topic, but I'm actually noticing that the whale on Frankie's head follows all of his expressions. So if you go through the chapter,
okay,
yeah, it's not even just not all of them, but a lot of them. The other thing I just want to say is I love the big picture stuff. If for those who did not know, again, listen or read the One Piece Connection. We posted it actually over the weekend, so please give it a listen if you haven't. And this was such a great big picture chapter. This is going to be one of those chapters you look back and say, oh, here's where Oda really placed one of the pillars of what's going to happen as we get to the conclusion. I think this is more obvious than when it happened, even, in Skypiea.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah.
Can I just, I think I finally detailed what it was. What bothers me is that I think this is it. As you just said, you come back to this and you said, aha, this is where Oda laid the plans for this. I don't think I'll have that. Because
Expound, yeah.
he's laid it out and we know it's here. So I don't think there will ever be a point where I say, oh wow, was there ever any point where he mentioned XYZ? I don't need, you don't need to come back to it because this is where it is. And it's there's no mystery about it.
Well,
we know we know what this information means and we know where it's going to lead. It's nothing that there's a lot to postulate over.
I mean, you're correct, but at the same time, at some point, Oda's going to have to put, we've had this big picture story boiling since just about the beginning, and if we don't actually have some exposition about it, or some, story about it, both, hopefully, in this arc, we'll never be able to actually tell that story. We're going to get to a point where there's going to be an arc, and there's going to be a flashback about the Ancient Kingdom, and we're going to learn everything about what happened, and it's going to explain everything. I have faith, personally, and I think the listeners as well have faith in Oda in telling that story in a fun and engaging and exciting way. But the problem is it's been happening over, maybe this explains, Greg, kind of, I understand the wariness. And it's just because the story has been happening over such a length of time, as an understatement, 2 decades, that you get one chapter here, one chapter in Skypiea, one chapter in Fishman Island, I mean, they're scattered and they're sparse and they're short. And here we are, and we're getting like a dump. I mean, it's one chapter, but we're getting a real info dump here that was not necessary.
Very highbrow, whoever it was.
Was a jammer this time is what I'm shocked about. And I could understand how that could be a little bit like, okay. I'm really curious where this is going to go from here. And I know we've already mentioned this, but the 4 points are not where the poneglyphs are. They're coordinates where the poneglyphs are, which make it more interesting because is there a method to travel north, south, east, or west in the New World? I mean, all we know of is how to get from island to
No,
island.
that's why there's specific coordinates.
No, but the coordinates are of 4 coordinates, so where they meet in the middle, you could have a place on a map.
Well, Nami can make a map, so that's all we need to know.
No, but how do you get to that point on the map is also a very good question.
Yeah.
You just described another arc of the story. Good for you. They're going to figure out how to do it.
Right. Added another 2 years to the story.
Well, there's going to be at least another decade. I'm still fine with saying that.
I'm sticking with 2027. That's been my stake in the ground for the past few years. I'm sticking to it.
I could endorse that because that would be an even 30 years. So yeah, sure. How old will Oda be then? 50 something? That's not that bad.
It'll be 52.
He'll have plenty of time to make different adventures about different series.
I was actually looking this up because another one of the more famous residents of Kumamoto, Japan, died the other day. Wrestler Hayabusa. So I went and looked and saw if they would have been the same age, but he's actually 7 years older than Oda was. But there aren't that many famous Japanese people that I know of who are from Kumamoto.
So yeah, 7 years.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Kumamoto is not. It's kind of a backwater.
I liked it. It was a lot of fun to go there. Maybe I more than Greg because Greg's in Japan all the time, but
I loved it. It was a beautiful place.
it was. And the last thing I want to say here is about, and I'm trying to remember because that kind of knocked me off track, but is just Raftel itself and what I think we learned in this about it. Greg touched upon it on his page, and what this is the second time I think that we've seen the silhouette of the island after the volume 12, the one where Crocus describes it. That's volume 12 or 13, something like that. And this is the second time we see it, and we kind of get the most concrete ideas of why is it so hidden. And I stick by my idea of it being like a quarantine zone, or that it was what I mean by that is that the government or other major forces currently in power in the world purposely made it near impossible to get to, which also, as we mentioned earlier, goes to explain why Wano may be kind of the key to finding out where it is, beyond obviously the four poneglyphs.
Hey, how cool is it that? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I was done. That was it.
How cool is it that we know that Kaido wants to get to Raftel? Like, you had Whitebeard, and we were like, why doesn't Whitebeard want it? And it turns out like he just wanted a family, and that's like, oh, that's sweet. But like, we know that Kaido is directly at odds with exactly what Luffy wants, and I'm just excited about that. They have
So is Big Mom.
Have we ever? Did she ever say that she want? I mean, like we know that they're at odds, but
I actually wonder if Kaido has the poneglyph as means of attracting strong people who want to kill him. Because we know that he wants to die, and having one of the ways to get to Raftel is to get the strongest. People
No,
to try
but he
and kill him.
specifically says. I mean, he was specifically after Oden as one of the Pirate King's
That's
crew.
true.
So
That's true.
yeah, that's the kind of thing that pulled it together. Is because he was after Oden. We know that he wants it, and he's willing to kill people to get there, which is just great. I'm sorry, for a villain, that's just wonderful.
I agree.
So I'm really glad that Luffy has someone to butt heads with, that he wants, because we don't know what Shanks is. We don't know what his deal is yet. We obviously know they have to cross paths, but so glad we have a cool villain set up here.
I'm so glad we have such a meaty chapter, personally. Filled with vegetables in a hot pot. Any other...
Oh, man.
Lots of
You
kale
need
in
to
the whale
stop.
With lots of whale, did you say?
I said lots of kale. In the
Oh,
whale.
that's
Sorry.
kale in the way.
I'm just going to take myself to jail.
Okay.
That's a kale of a tale, Steven.
Make sure outside there's no hail.
Okay. Any
I
other
think
thoughts on this chapter before we go into the next segment?
I personally do not want to see the boiling because I feel like that was really powerful just hearing it and not having to see it.
I
feel like you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I think you're gonna be
that's
disappointed.
just my gut feeling on that.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Let's piece this together.
Okay. Let's go to the next segment. It's time for the Piece Together segment, where we take your questions, comments, and theories. And on our Piece Together segment, we have a different crew with us. I mean, still joining us. We have Ed and Steven. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
And from Rick and Morty, we have Bryan Newton with us. Hey, Bryan.
Hello, all.
And we have the Eisner Award nominated author of Mermin. We have Joey Weiser with us. Hey, Joey.
Hey.
So first I want to ask Bryan, what did you think of this chapter?
This chapter was a fantastic info dump. Brilliant in any way. No, perfect in every way. And I gladly accept that I eat crow when saying that we wouldn't get any information in this chapter last week.
I hope it's tasty crow. Because
Yes, it is.
you're certainly eating it. Joey, what did you think?
Yeah, I think I was basically with Bryan that I've gotten so used to not getting any information that I was very shocked to get this much all at once and pretty straightforward too. So yeah, lots of really great information. Another note, it was last chapter, a thing that was kind of bothering me is that I was having a hard time getting a good sense of Raizo's exact scale. I could tell that he was big and he had a big head and stuff, but like this time we got some clear images of not only him standing next to characters, but characters like draped over his head and stuff. So got a good idea of how big he actually is.
Yeah, no, it's somewhat shocking in a horrifying way.
Yeah, he's bigger than I thought. I knew he was large, but he is even bigger than I thought.
Yeah, he's still the same size, height-wise, roughly as the samurai. It's just his head is gigantic.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He has a regular sized body and a giant head. It's as I said, infinitely disturbing. So why don't we get started with some Piece Together, and we'll definitely hear more of your guys' thoughts on the chapter, I'm sure, as we go along, because I'm gonna guess that most of the questions this week had to do with this week's chapter. First one from the email, Bin, comes from Julio. Not Julio, that's not a name. Or maybe it is, I don't know. He says, guys, this chapter was insane. After reading this chapter, my mind was on fire. Well, my question is obviously, where do you guys think the lost poneglyph is? And he gives some theories. He says either Mary Joa, since Doflamingo knows something about the government's national treasure. Could that be the poneglyph? Number 2, the one Jinbei found, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. Shanks, maybe he has it, maybe he doesn't. I feel like though that would have been mentioned, especially since Dogstorm knows Shanks, right? The Florian Triangle. Why the hell not, I guess.
Why were those giants there? Those shadows? Who knows?
They were carrying poneglyphs.
Yeah.
And maybe the Vinsmoke family, because why not? He also has a mini theory. What if Raftel is under the sea? And by connecting the 4 glyphs, they get to the location, but also, and maybe it explains the all blue in there somehow.
Does it just float up like at the end of the abyss? Just comes up out of the water. That'd be awesome.
Or the movie Sphere, which I'm sure you all remember.
I remember the book.
Wow.
So yeah, where do you guys think the last poneglyph is?
I think the first one is the most likely one. That is the hidden treasure of Mary Showa.
I saw a really good theory that some people were floating around, which has no proof whatsoever backing it up. But what if the last poneglyph is actually what's it called? Captain John's treasure that Buggy's been searching for all along. That would be kind of crazy.
Fantastic.
That would be a great way to get Buggy back into the story. That'd be great.
Yeah, I like the idea that the world nobles are holding on to that treasure as the poneglyph, but I'm trying to do the math in my head. Is that something they had prior to Gold Roger? Because Doflamingo's older. He would have been a kid prior to Roger's execution. I
mean, let's think about it like this too. Have we seen a poneglyph in government hands? The closest I think we've gotten is in Alabasta, and Alabasta obviously doesn't have the same relationship with the world government than any other kingdom.
It makes sense. Like, they can't destroy it, so they probably do keep them. Like the one that was at Orhara. They definitely found it.
Yeah. It's, and that's weird, because that was in the West Blue. I think that's the only one we've seen outside of the Grand Line New World region.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I would imagine there's a bunch of them all over. We've just only seen the ones that happen to intersect with the Straw Hats.
Yeah. I know we talked about before that possibly the location of the ancient weapons, maybe like Elbaf has Uranus?
Right.
But
depends what you prefer, yes.
Sure. But like maybe just like with this reveal that Zoe has the red one, maybe Elbaf has the other red.
Yeah.
Yeah, my immediate thought was Shanks, just because the other two,
Four emperors.
Yeah, 4 emperors. The other 2 emperors have it, but it seems almost that it's more likely that it's not him, just because it seems a little too boring to have that be the big reveal. The other emperor had it,
I just had a thought. Redhead Shanks is the poneglyph.
Just zooms on his skin really close, and
it's a tiny little poneglyph. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's also possible that Oda is just kind of leaving this for him to decide later. He could very well have a clear-cut plan, but it does seem like, he's giving himself several years to get to that third poneglyph,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, next one comes from Joe, who says, hello everyone, I have 3 hopefully short questions for you. Let's see how many we get through here. First one, if it hasn't already been mentioned, do you think that the guy on the cover of chapter 631 might be Kozuki Oden?
Yeah.
Steve, good. We also have Steve Yurko joining us, everyone. Say hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Oh, thanks, Ed.
if Steve says yeah, I'll go with that because I don't know what he's talking about.
I thought Joey would know who he was talking about.
Yeah, Steve, what do no, I'm not sure. I think we'll try and look through chapter 631. I don't know what volume that is.
No, I'm looking at it right now. It's the guy
I know
who's
what
having,
he's talking about.
He's having
With
drinks
Crocus.
with Crocus.
Oh, no, I still think that's Yorkie, personally.
No, actually, that makes perfect sense because remember the hats that Ace made Orange Jr. He developed that from Wano country.
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but you're using hats like people use hair for Bonnie theories.
I get it. I
mean,
But
the hat's better. The hat's better.
But it'd have to be someone Corcus knows as well.
Yeah, and to be honest, he remember because originally people thought it was Shiki because the way he was dressed. So
his hair.
Yeah, this isn't a bad idea, to be honest.
You guys are winning me over here.
This is Oden we're talking about.
Yeah.
When is that picture chronologically? Because Oden was put to death by the Shogun in Kaido.
We
So
haven't seen it yet.
Time skipped for sure.
It's after the time skip.
Or he was put to death and he escaped and was hanging out with Crocus.
Because nobody dies in One Piece.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I still prefer if it was Yoki because that would make the most sense for Laboon and Brooks reuniting.
Yeah, it turns out I just had the chicken pox.
As a side note, I don't know, you guys may have covered this on the manga recap, but I love the line that Oden says where he says, I was born to boil, because that's sort of a joke on his name.
Right.
Yeah.
It's also a great thing to say to people.
Yeah, it's a great line. I really, really love that.
Well, unless your name is Bob O'Boyle, it sounds kind of painful. So
Boyle.
Steve, since you just came in, I want to hear your thoughts on the chapter as well.
It was okay. Well, it was a pretty big deal. I don't think it really hit me till giving it another read, but of course it was just a dump of information and plot. It's and here I thought Zoe, I'm like, we're just coasting through Zoe. Here's a little bit of some foreshadowing here and there, but just having a good old nice cruise through Zoe, and then here comes the waterfall with jagged rocks at the bottom. That's what this chapter felt like. I guess it was only a matter of time before we found out who made the poneglyphs. Something I've been thinking with One Piece lately, and it's nothing against Oda at all, but I think over the years he's incorporated a lot more Japanese culture into the story. It just because now it's this is a pretty big deal that people of Wano build something that's such a big deal in the story, and that they just happen to be based off of Japan and the samurai and all that. It's starting to feel less and less like a pirate story, but I think that's just only temporary. It's I mean we're going into the Wano.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys discussed this or not, or if you guys picked up on it, but Lord Oden is definitely the person who both read and was able to transcribe on the poneglyph from Skypiea, right?
More than likely, and he probably Roger's like, hey, I want to say something. I'm like, all right, what do you want me to write for you?
Because like the whole thing is the poneglyphs are like unbreakable, and I guess only the stonemasons of Wano are capable of like putting anything on it.
So what did the voice, being able to hear the voice of all things, why didn't Rayleigh just say, oh yeah, his friend helped him out with that one?
Well, apparently Momosuke can hear voices too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's very interesting. Maybe Momonosuke is actually Roger's son. Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
That makes no sense for the record.
But other than that,
so it's just like, Roger, fuck my wife.
And she held on to it for 20 years.
Isn't Momonosuke only like, yeah, well, that did happen in One Piece once, so let's be honest. Yeah.
Well, other than that, it's like, I guess this is our end game now. We know what steps it takes to go to Raftel, but I'm not going to jump aboard that whole train of, oh man, now we know like One Piece is going to be coming to an end. Ha ha. Ha ha.
It's always going to
Steve, no, Steve, this does prove that One Piece will end eventually.
Yes. But I was going to compare it to, remember when we found out about Fishman Island? Aha. Aha.
But this is the actual end, and it will come in years.
Yeah, it's setting it up. It might still be a decade. None of us are saying.
We have
Luffy's right. There's 4 Raftels.
Then this is going to be a long ending. Joe has a few more questions related to this. For Steven, is Frost Moon written similarly enough to Kozuki in Japanese that they could be related? I don't think anyone has asked this, but...
Frost Moon?
Zoro's Village. Yeah, Zoro.
Oh, Shimotsuki. So yeah, Frost Moon, Shimotsuki. I don't. Well, the thing is, Shimotsuki is like the traditional Japanese name for November, because normally when they say the months, they just say them. They literally mean like first month, second month, third month if you translate the kanji. But they do have traditional names for them, and that's Zoro's village name is the word for November. So I don't think that there's any relation there.
Okay. And let's move on to the next one, since we do have a lot of Piece Together this week. This one comes from Tyreek, and he said that this was one of his top 5 One Piece chapters of all time. For us, I think we gotta sit back and digest it a little bit before determining. That's a lot of chapters. There's 818. The top 5, that's tough.
I heard a lot of people say that. It's like, it's a great info dump, but I'm like, it's just an info dump.
Look, this chapter was like made for me, but I still don't know if it's one of my top 5.
There wasn't a lot of like fun character interaction.
Not enough moon.
I would still rank Zoro defeating Pika over this.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
there was a lot more artistically going on in that chapter.
Yeah, I mean, so many things.
Although I especially like the part with the silhouettes of the Pone Masons. That was great.
I would say I would still think that Jack in the Box, the one where it's revealed that Dragon is Luffy's father, I'd say that's a better chapter because it was like we just got done with the whirlwind that Garp is Luffy's grandfather, and then it's like, oh, here's your father, and it's like, whoa, this changes. It doesn't necessarily. Well, this changes a lot of things, but like, what's gonna happen? Like, this guy's is anti-world government and all these, like, the world's most dangerous man, most wanted man.
Well, if you just want to say this is the best chapter for giving you the most information, yes.
Yeah.
well, that chapter had like a lot of stuff info dump, not even just that. That probably would be in my top 5. That one, definitely. Also, it's like hard to separate, as you guys said, fighting chapters and not fighting chapters. This person had a question, but we kind of covered it already, so we're going to go on to the next one. This one is from Ben Wild. Do you think that Frankie or Usopp will ever make battle armor for the crew, either in a movie or later in the manga? The guys would be all for it, but the ladies might not. And by that, I think he means that Oda might not be okay with it for the ladies. Anyway, thanks for the work. He is Maji. What do you guys think?
Sounds more like a movie idea.
Yeah. I agree. Let's see.
Like maybe when they go to space, so they have like Saiyan armor.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, that Frankie may have to develop spacesuit technology or something.
Love it. Love it. Maybe we'll have to just get a member of the crew who is an astrophysicist. I'm fine with that. We have an archaeologist. Why the hell not?
Sure.
Next one comes from James. After finishing today's chapter, all that I can imagine was Zach salivating all over his computer and trying to think of new headings for the One Piece Connection 2, Moon Boogaloo.
No. Strawberry wasn't brought back into the story.
Anyway, he has two questions, both for our beloved translator, which I believe he means you, Stephen. I'm sure you guys may have covered this, but if not, are Kaido and the Shogun one and the same, or is there another person? As Steven said, I'll let you repeat it.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember exactly how I explained this in the manga recap, but just to recap it, the Shogun and Kaido are different people. The way that Oda worded it, both in the original Japanese and then the way that I translated it, kind of matched it, was close enough that if you weren't parsing it very carefully, it could be confusing because you might think it was the Shogun of Wano and Pirate, Kaido, but they're two separate people. And part of the confusion is because, like, after they said that, everybody only reacted to the name Kaido in the chapter. They didn't mention the Shogun at all, which was a little, if you already weren't sure about it, that was going to make it even weirder to tell. But yes, they're two separate people.
Yeah, I got thrown off.
Yeah, I did as well. So I mean, I mean, how else could you have worded that? There's like no, I can't really think of one.
It's the Oxford comma, isn't it?
I am a pro Oxford comma
the
guy.
two people.
The strippers, Kennedy and Stalin.
And he also James also asked if you translated My Hero Academia.
No.
Okay.
No, it is that's done by Caleb, who I don't think we've ever actually managed to get him on. I talked to him about getting him on the podcast, but he was kind of known. He has been a big One Piece fan in the past.
Oh, Triple C, right?
Right, CCC. He was known for providing translations and stuff for One Piece before he kind of transitioned to being pro, and so now he's doing My Hero. So that's cool.
Yeah, let's get him on at some point. I'd love to.
Yeah, I remember his stuff too.
Yeah, and he did the clay stuff that what do you call it? The figures that ended up in some of the Usopp's gallery, I think, right? I'm not making that up.
Yeah, I know he does like figure building stuff with molds and stuff like that.
Yeah, if he's listening, we'd love to have him on at some point. Next one's from Connor. Will the Straw Hats deal with Kaido or Wano or Big Mom and Sanji first? Will they split up? Will it be a combined into one arc? Two clear conflicts, that is a tongue twister, are here, and I'm curious how you guys think that they'll be dealt with. So what do you guys think?
I think Big Mom's next. It's possible that the Wano crew might split off, but meaning literally the people from Wano. But
it seems maybe go off with Law, because Law still is focused on Kaido.
Yeah. It seems to me like Big Mom's still next. I mean, there's a member of their crew that's in trouble, so I think that would be first priority.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for the emails, unless anyone else has thoughts on that.
Does anyone have a feeling that Kaido might crash this wedding?
Yeah, I like that.
We've talked about that, yeah.
I get the feeling we're in for another, hey, I'm in the story arc too. And then, a bunch of old ladies are in the arc too.
If not Kaido, maybe definitely a representative like Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's more likely.
Well, Jack's looming in the background right now, and he may have a way to get to Zoe. I mean, he found it once before.
Jack!
Really
I thought
he's really the queen of the chessboard here.
Yeah.
Kaido doesn't have to move.
It seems like we'd want some conflict when they go to Wano, and so totally resolving the stuff with Kaido before then would not really work. But yeah.
In case you didn't know, Kaido is not dead. Oh, I thought they said you were dead. No, I am not.
Darn it.
That was my impression of Kaido from the last chapter. They said you were dead. Oh, but I'm not.
You mean Jack?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was very confused.
Kaido can't die.
It's not as funny as mixing up Bartolomeo and Cavendish, though. So
not quite. There's no Bartolomendish version of
Jack Kaido.
The joke
with Kaido is, Kaido, I thought you were dead. I know, I tried, but
Accurate. Okay, we have a ton of questions on Reddit. Steven, you want to walk us through it?
All right, let's get to all these poneglyph questions. First one, a Jedi with no name says, if you could change the motivations for the Straw Hats for joining Luffy, what would you rewrite them as?
I wouldn't.
why?
Yeah, that's a.
Wait, let's rephrase this. If you had to change the motivations for the Straw Hats,
They'd be entirely different characters.
Yeah, that's weird. That's difficult.
Zoro's is the only one I would think of changing. No, not the motivation of joining the Straw Hat, just the backstory. But I don't know.
Elaborate more on Zoro.
Yeah, I think I'd give it more time.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
It's really hard for me to say. I think maybe like Brook is maybe the only one that needs some spicing up because he's just, hey, you helped me out, I'll serve under you, and also I want to see Laboon again. So that's really his motivation. Because back in the early days with One Piece, used to, oh, here's everybody's dream. Like Brook's dream is just, I just want to see Laboon again.
Yeah, with all the Straw Hats, I actually love how all 9 of them, or 8 of them, not counting Luffy, all have really different, distinct reasons for being there. I can't think of anything that wouldn't just be like giving Nami's motivation to Sanji and Sanji's motivation to Frankie. It's like he's creating archetypes for characters to do the things they do. It's like you can't remove that without changing the character.
If like Frankie wanted to sail all blue, wanted to create a boat that would sail all blue or something.
I'm saying more like the conditions of which put them on the crew. Like if Frankie was like indebted to pirates who were managing his town and he had to like work to free them or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could do a jokey one, I would say like, Frankie loves his sob stories, and there's really no better way to come into contact with lots of sob stories than being with Luffy's crew.
That makes sense. That makes sense for the character.
I would like to see one of the characters say, I just want to be a pirate. I'm just happy to be a part of the team.
Well, that's kind of Usopp.
Usopp started.
Well, no, Usopp has ambitions. It would be funny.
But he wants to be a pirate.
Yeah, but he wants to be like a brave warrior of the sea, which is like the complete opposite of what he was. So I think that's like a pretty ambitious dream.
So you just want like a good pirate, he's
an intern.
Yeah,
an intern.
Hey everyone.
They do need a cabin boy.
I'm Jimmy.
Hey, I'm Jimmy Vito. The cabin boy.
That's for you out there, dude. Okay, next question, Stephen.
All right, Skambala says, we found out this week that Oden traveled with Gold Roger and learned the secrets of Raftel. And there was also a reference to Roger when the cat dog were remembering another person who could hear the voices. Since in feudal Japan, the retainers of a high-level samurai always traveled with their master, do you guys think it's possible that cat dog also traveled aboard the Oro Jackson?
Yeah, I think it is.
It's an odd way of speaking to say that, oh, he was on the ship, but not to mention that you were also there.
Right. That would be a little weird.
Well, no, but the person who said it was Kinemon.
Was it?
That said that Oden was on the ship. Yeah. He didn't say, and the rest of us. I mean, or he didn't say, and those two over there. They were also there.
Well, Kinemon wouldn't know that, maybe.
Yeah, also possible. I mean, who knows? The next chapter.
Start opening up the chapter with that.
Yeah, we were there. Why don't we tell you the story?
We're not really sure how old Cat Dog are, too, right?
And they were being sort of reserved with the information that they were giving out. So,
well, Bryan the question is it? Are you asking in dog years or?
Yeah, exactly.
I was also in the manga recap since most of you guys weren't there. I was positing that maybe we're going to be going into a flashback next. Do any of you guys agree or disagree?
I could see that.
What would it be? Oden?
Yeah,
story?
It seems that way. That was my prediction. I'm just curious.
Or maybe the rift that was created between. Oh, that would be Oden.
It could be both.
Viper.
Yeah,
it would be him being sentenced to death and how that affected Cat Dog.
I love it. Now we're calling them Cat Dog. I mean, does anyone, Steve, do you have an opinion or no? I'm just curious.
Not right now.
Okay. You can continue, Steven. Sorry about that.
Okay. Next is Gentleman Bastard, who asks, so if Superman, the Hulk, and Kaido were to have a three-way brawl, should I still bet on Kaido?
I just got that joke. I read it 3 times and it took me the third time. I don't know yet, to tell you the truth. Maybe.
You got to see more.
Yeah. I mean, that's the saying in a one-on-one brawl, right? Or
But it's a three-way brawl.
Was it in a one-on-one? Is that
yes? Yeah, it was in a one-on-one fight. Always bet on Kaido.
Okay, so I'm not gonna bet on Kaido then. That's easy. Yeah. Okay.
And what if Goku's there?
Who would Goku side with?
It's probably Superman. Of those 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're basically the same character. The alien. that
No.
came to Earth.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well,
I thought you were gonna go the whole ally to good, nightmare to you. I'm like, no, that's not.
I was
Goku.
gonna say, yeah, Goku's a lot more selfish than Superman.
Goku is so selfish. But
Although
he's
the
naive.
new Superman,
he's like Luffy. He's naive, and just motivated by his goals. That's all.
what are Goku's goals?
He just wants to punch things and be
He wants to
strong.
he wants to be the strongest.
Okay. Okay, what's next?
All right. Mr. Something says he said in federal Japan, I think he means in feudal Japan, they had
I like it.
Questions for Zach.
They had an emperor and a shogun. The only power the emperor had was to choose the shogun, and only the emperor had the power to give the title of shogun. Do you guys think that Kaido became emperor of Wano by force and chose the shogun? I'm not sure if that's. I'm embarrassed to say that I don't actually remember if this is how it works. But I did think it was interesting, and the reason why I chose to read this was because I did not think about the possibility of there also being an emperor with a different position, as opposed to just the shogun is the king. He's the big.
Well, he is one
guy.
of the 4 emperors, so it could
Good
be
point.
he'll be a double emperor. I mean, I think the point of naming them emperors in the first place is that they have, a domain. That's when we first are kind of introduced to the 4 emperors in the New World. We're like, oh, they own these different things. So I mean, I have to assume Kaido has reign over Wano. I don't think it was something that was forever, but I think it's definitely something currently that's happening. So I actually would subscribe to Mr. Something's theory.
It'll be interesting to see if the shogun is someone who's evil or, like someone who's being controlled by Kaido.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question
Right.
going into the next chapter. Or
Yeah.
the next arc. I don't know.
Yeah, especially since we know, like Peckham's was saying, basically when the emperor orders you, you do it or you die, and he's obviously powerful enough that he presumably he has more influence than the country of Wano on its own. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Continue.
Next, from Black Northwind, suggests that the missing poneglyph could possibly be on Vegapunk's island. Now, I'm not actually sure if Vegapunk has an island. We know he has a bunch of labs.
He has a place. I mean, that's where Smoker and Cobra are going.
I thought
True.
Oh, I
Mr.
was
Burger
thinking-
Pants.
I thought he was talking about where Frankie was, Baltimore.
Right, that's the thing is because he was on Punk Hazard.
Well, that's
with
Machine
Lab.
Island, which is where the Moon Men were from. So connections, maybe Poneglyph there. No, I don't know.
It's on the moon. Yeah, that's where the last Poneglyph is.
Possible.
It could
Possible. In all what if Eneru just comes down with a Poneglyph and he's like, yeah, haha, and it's like,
Here, you want this?
I don't want it. Here, take
Taking
it.
up space.
I don't really even know why I took it.
I mean, but Ener's got to come back someday. I'm just.
They've got to go
It's
to
got to
him.
happen.
What
Yeah.
better way?
Yeah.
There is no better way.
Next is from Court2812, who says, hey, Stephen, how could you hold on to all this information for a whole week? Well, I hold my secrets in, like I can do a Wadatsumi thing where I just puff up larger and larger as time goes on, as I try to hold the secrets inside.
So the fatter Steven gets, the bigger the chapter is next week.
Good thing this is an audio podcast.
Yeah, he says, did you and Greg have a talk on where the fourth poneglyph can possibly be? I don't think so. I forget what we said again.
The manga recap.
In the manga recap. But I don't think there's any real consensus yet. It's going to be a mystery for a while, I imagine.
We need some good mysteries, though. As we said, this was a very answer-filled chapter. We need some mysteries.
Right. Is the crew splitting inevitable at this point? Which is kind of the big question right now, I think.
I really think that after this chapter, it makes it less likely that they will split. I think that they're probably all going to Whole Cake Island next.
Well, the argument Zoro was making was that we got to go to Kaido. That's the plan. That's what we have to do. And this kind of tips a little more toward Big Mom, at least. It's another motivating factor to go toward. We have to, at some point, go to Big Mom as well.
Yeah, I hope the main crew says, "Fuck you, Luffy. We're not going. You're not leaving you alone. We're going to go with you the whole cake." And then they call for their Straw Hat Fleet to meet them at Wano.
Great idea. I like that. Yeah. And then Greg's prediction comes true, and Wano is a huge event kind of arc. If you got Bartolomeo and all that group again, it's gonna feel like Dressrosa Part 2. I'm gonna say probably better, just because Oda's been pouring his heart and soul into whatever Wano is gonna end up being. But still,
yeah, it'd be potential either first or second Emperor takedown.
Oh, and the other thing that kind of hints toward Big Mom happening, and it's not in the story itself, but as I recall during that special magazine/DVD thing that came out, the interviews on our website for those who want to check it out, he had booklets for Dressrosa, he had booklets for Zoe, Oda is the he in this sentence, and Oda also had a booklet for Whole Cake Island. I don't know if he had one for Wano. I don't think he did. So that makes me think that Whole Cake Island, Big Cake Island, whatever you want to call it.
Well, there's also just Occam's laser, like Oda himself said, this is the year of Sanji. So how can you leave him behind and just go to Wano?
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, so I'm voting Whole Cake Island next. I think we're all going. I hope we're all going.
And I realized I was pretty, steadfast in the other direction up until now, but new information. Well. New information.
All right, go ahead, Stephen.
Next, my pants are on fire. Mentions
again. We can't trust anything this guy says.
Mentions again. Could the poneglyph be the Marijoa secret that Doflamingo was talking about? And I'm mentioning this again because I wanted to say I don't think that's the case, because Doflamingo mentioned that as if that just the fact of that being there would completely delegitimize the world government. And I feel like I get the feeling that the poneglyphs are enough of a secret that I don't think that would make any difference to the rest of the world. If that came out, I don't know.
Yeah.
Unless it's one of the other the history poneglyphs that has information that
right.
Could,
I got the impression that it was something different.
Yeah.
But at any rate, next from Nohas, who gives us a little break from the poneglyph questions to ask, what do you think will be the color scheme of the minks? More realistic or just crazy colorful?
I hope they're fairly realistic, true to whatever animal they represent.
Oda's so hard to pin down. I see Wanda looking like a golden retriever, like some sort of gold color. Maybe closer to orange, because I think they want to throw you off with. Because remember how she was first introduced? She's wearing Nami's bikini top and jeans. And it's like, did Nami turn into a dog lady?
I don't know if Wanda can be orange simply because Cat Viper has to be orange and black.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that. He's got to be orange and black. But who knows? He could be like purple or some shit. Because sometimes Oda just throws us a curveball.
We might see their color scheme on the next volume cover.
Hopefully, I see Dogstorm just being brown.
Maybe
Carrot.
I see Cat Viper as being a little more golden colored, but maybe that's just the Totoro cat bus invading my brain.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't know. Like Carrot, probably like white and pink, like a bunny, or brown, light brown. But other than that, I got nothing.
Don't look at me. I could barely see colors. What's next?
Lame for Fame wanted to bring up the poneglyph on Alabasta again, and asks, why is there a poneglyph in Alabasta with the Nefeltari family protecting it when they were part of the alliance that took down the ancient kingdom? I was under the impression that the poneglyphs were made by inhabitants of the ancient kingdom, or as we may suspect from the latest chapter, by the Kozuki clan on their behalf, to keep the true history from being forgotten. With Alabasta being co-founders of the world government, it seems weird they would protect this knowledge.
Well, we already know, I'll try and make my thoughts on this quick, but we already know that they had a somewhat contentious relationship with the world government at its founding. I have a feeling that the people of, I think when we learn the true history at some point, we'll probably get a real big, what was happening around the world at that time during the Void Century. I have a feeling they were kind of hesitant to join the world government, but decided to somewhat reluctantly. And I am sure that the government does not know about this, although it is suspect that Crocodile figured it out.
Yeah, we should reiterate that the proof for that, or the reasoning for that, is that as Doflamingo revealed, the 20 original families, they all left their countries to go be the celestial dragons in Marijoa, and the Nefeltaris were the only ones that did not join them. That was the reasoning for that.
They're the only ones under government control that have a poneglyph. Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine the reasons why the government was founding is not black and white. It's probably a lot more gray, where probably the people who formed the government did it with the best of intentions for whatever purpose that they had to feel like the ancient kingdom had to go. Maybe there were a bunch
WMDs.
of... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe the ancient kingdom wasn't all it's cracked up to be, but maybe they had something that was just like, you know what, you guys are kind of dicks, but we're trying to build a better world and go forward because of whatever accident, tragedy. So I side with, I don't agree you had to be erased from existence, but I feel like we need to make a better world.
Well, I mean,
that's the Nefertari's perspective.
The world government is pretty messed up, I think, if you take everything into consideration.
But I think part of that comes from 800 years of,
power,
inbreeding and power, and how that just gets further and further. I bet you the formation of the government's not as black and white.
Well, the other thing is, the only real hint we have as to the motives of the of that ancient kingdom, besides just what they wrote, are the people who may have already seen it. And if we have an Odin flashback, that would also certainly help, and maybe we'll start.
And Rayleigh particularly, he noted that you might come to a different conclusion than we did.
Exactly. So. I mean, who knows? Maybe they went and they're like, "This is bullshit. I don't care." Okay, and Robin and crew go in and they're like, "This was a travesty." So who knows? It's probably a story with some gray, as you said, with some ambiguity. And Oda is one of the best storytellers when it comes to portraying gray. So he's also very good when it comes to portraying black and white. But that's who knows.
All right. Question. Yeah. Prince Cheddar points out he likes our idea of Law talking in a silly Cockney accent. And he points out, since he is named after 2 battles won by the British and he rides around in a yellow submarine, shouldn't his English dub actor have a British accent?
Liverpool, man.
A Liverpudlian.
Yeah.
Or Newcastle.
No, just because of the Beatles thing, Liverpool.
How about Blackstool?
Yeah, that would probably be more a question for the Japanese original voice cast. Like, do they portray Law as kind of like a British?
Well, no, they portray him as Japanese, don't they?
he is such a Japanese scenester.
Yeah, it's tricky because the thing is, there's no British accent in Japanese. So like whether Oda meant, whether that is like a valid, interpretation or a valid kind of coloring of his character is kind of hard to say because you couldn't really do that in Japanese to begin with. But I kind of like that idea just because I don't think we really have any major characters that are like that in the dub so far, and it's not a bad.
If it was 4 kids,
yeah, there you go. Yeah. All right, I guess we'll just go on. Pokachap says, with all the plot lines arising on Zo, do any of us take notes to keep track of it all?
I got it all in my head, baby.
Oh, my noodle.
Honestly, just listening to the podcast kind of helps me like hear the information back at me, and I feel like the last few years that I've been listening to the show has made me, and then now participating in the show, has made me a lot more kind of aware of all the little details and stuff.
That is kind of what we do the podcast.
Yeah, I think discussing it with people every week clears things up for me. I know the first time I read a chapter, I misunderstand a lot of things. I mean, the Shogun thing in this chapter, I totally missed that. I mean, just going through it, noticing Frankie's hairstyle changing every time he had an expression. I didn't notice that when I first read it.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
See,
Yeah.
exactly.
The whale's jaw drops.
Oh yeah, just look in each panel his hairstyles, and they changes
that's
almost all.
brilliant.
It
That's
is.
awesome.
Although I did take written notes for the read through. I took handwritten notes for that.
Oh yeah, for the read through, but the thing is, we take notes on the more ridiculous shit like Endless Schmaltz and the anime recaps. We take notes on some of us, mostly Ed. So yeah,
I rarely take. I might write down something like, "Oh, make sure I talk about this," but for the most part, yeah, I think the only show I really write down notes for is Schmaltz, just because I really want to make everybody laugh. And
Schmaltz and the read through, I think, for the 2 times. Yeah. What's next, Stephen?
He also has a question. Is it possible Odin's wife would know the location of the last poneglyph? And if so, would she possibly help the Straw Hat crew find it? I think that would be a nice way to reintroduce Bonnie.
Fuck off.
I'm going to say we're getting dangerously close to me just not reading any question that includes the word Bonnie until she appears again in the story.
I think we're hitting rock bottom here.
You had me going there, and now I'm angry.
My question's about everyone's favorite crossdresser, Bon. Now that I have your intention, Bonnie.
What's next?
Oh, okay.
Nobody
has any thoughts about the
I
wife?
assume that was a ridiculous question.
I don't think Odin's wife would be a factor because that just seems like a too easy of a workaround to having lost the information that Odin knows. Like,
Yeah,
I think
plus we've already been kind of introduced on this, the way the Samurai Society kind of views women. Because like when what's his face, Kinemon was first introduced, like Robin and Nami, he's misogynist, sexist. It's old school. Yeah, so I imagine like women are definitely like, well, they can't be trusted. Not that they wouldn't trust women. It's just more like, well, this is important, like man's thing, and I don't want to like give them that information because then like fuckers like Jack would come around, like try to like slaughter women.
What's next?
Next from PAMNM has the question everybody wants to know. Sorry if this has been answered before, but what happened to Jason?
Tampa.
Yeah, he got swallowed by the swamp.
Yeah.
He retired down to Florida, like a lot of people from New York do.
Yeah, he's with my grandparents. And I assume your grandparents too, Zach.
He's been hypnotized by a land of endless sunset.
Yes. It just keeps happening every night.
He's hanging out with Firecrouch.
No, Firecrouch is not in.
Firecrouch
he lives on a farm.
Yeah, Firecrouch retired to a farm in California with llamas and goats.
Upstate.
Is this the kind of thing where you like tell your kids that their favorite dog wants to go live on a
both
farm?
Firecrouch and Jason have passed away.
Spot, he He went to Tampa, Billy. He'll be happier in Tampa.
Yeah, they're in a much happier place.
Why isn't Spot doing Grand Line Gaming anymore?
They're the Hooters in Tampa? What?
Oh, really? A Hooters in Florida? You don't say.
And strip clubs. I think Tampa has the most strip clubs per
I
capita.
think Tampa is the
I've
strip
heard
club
that.
capital of America.
Yeah. Because they had the Republican convention there, and I remember that being a talking point.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
That's why they pick it every time.
Well, they're in Cleveland this time, which has the second most. No, I don't know that. Completely guessing.
Should go in the next hastily assembled Cleveland tourism video.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh.
That's amazing. I visited Cleveland
Hey,
recently.
LeBron James is back.
they have 2 buildings there. See both of them. All right, what's next?
Slides of Glory asks, what is everyone's favorite word? Zach's is obviously a toss-up between cromulent and moon, but what about everyone else? Actually, I think cromulent is edge. Yeah.
That's definitely up there. Yeah.
Cromulent and embiggen.
I don't know if I even. I don't even know if I even have a. I don't think about my favorite word, but cromulent is definitely one that I use a lot.
Moon is not actually my favorite word, guys. It's strawberry.
Strawberry!
Kidding.
I can't say my favorite word. I'll end up blowing up the universe.
And
That's
Tiki?
powerful.
Yeah. It's ass, by the way.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's my favorite word, but I like the use of it. I like irony.
This is one of those Inside the Actor Studio questions we used to ask. I just realized.
Exactly.
What is your favorite word? Anyone else?
I think we hit mine. Yeah.
I know you, Ed. I meant Steven or Joey.
I have to use all of them, so I can't play favorites.
How can I choose?
What
Oh,
a
my
cop-out.
children.
I know. That was a great cop out. Come on.
Juxtaposition. It's a good word.
It's a good word.
It has lots of great letters in it.
It's a great Scrabble word.
It's a really, if you could figure that out. Juxtaposed you might be able to do in Scrabble.
I think foofara is a great word.
Oh, you do love that word. Is that a West Wing word?
No, not sure where I got it
I
from.
think he did use it, Martin Sheen.
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah.
Probably. But I mean, I definitely knew it before then, but it's just a ridiculous word for a fight. Like, you put up your dukes.
23 skidoo.
I like fisticuffs for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
Okay, we should probably move on.
Manly.
Ogru has a question for me. This is something that I have answered before, but I guess I might as well repeat it about why the Duke and the boss of Zo have their names translated when it's not the same for characters from other shonen with Japanese names, which actually also applies to One Piece because we have Akainu, Aokiji, Kizaru. And the reason that I chose to translate them this time it basically comes down to because it's part of their character, like they're literally a cat and a dog, and I just thought it was leaving it in Japanese, like I just thought it would be much richer to put those in English, which is not to say that there aren't meaningful kind of sources for the names of the 3 admirals, for example. But they're not as obvious to an English-speaking audience, whereas I think Dogstorm and Cat Viper are a lot more clear. You just look at them, and so that was basically my reasoning for that.
I mean, and if Steven needs anything else to back that up, look, Dogstorm and Cat Viper sound cool, but Blue Pheasant,
Right, yeah, it's just how it sounds as well. That's part of the decision making process.
Oh no, it's Admiral Blue Pheasant.
Hey, Red Dog is pretty intimidating.
Red Dog, yeah. Okay, I'll give you that one. But he's no longer that anyway. So
it's true.
Yeah. What's next?
Let's see. Hoder 12 says, if you would have asked anyone who they thought made the poneglyphs before this chapter, I think the majority of fans would have said the Ancient Kingdom with no doubt. As with most of One Piece, once a question is answered, 10 more are made. It will be interesting to find out the connection of the Ancient Kingdom and the Void Century with the Kozuki clan. Potentially, it could factor into Wano's autonomy from the world government.
Definitely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Mm-hmm. So the Sunstar says, I was going back and rereading the chapters of Zoe so far, and the thing that struck me the most was how Miss Buchan kept insisting how Whitebeard loved her. To me, this sounded similar, not identical, to how Big Mom marries off her daughters to gain power. It got me thinking that maybe she is Big Mom's first daughter and that she tried to have her married to Whitebeard. Of course, there are a lot of what ifs in this theory, like the 35th daughter referring to a family line and not children, among some others, but it seems plausible at the current time.
I never would have considered that, but I don't.
Yeah.
There's no evidence against it at this point.
No.
Right. Yeah, since we only got one.
It's
chapter
cromulent.
with those two. Yes.
Yeah, we get it, Ed. You like the word cromulent. Oh.
Not yet. Fufara.
No, not yet. Argle Bargle.
Or that. Straw Hat Cyclist is our last Reddit question. I've been listening to all the podcast episodes from Zoe, and in one of the episodes when Jack was first introduced, there was a comment about Jack possibly representing the one-eyed Jack in a deck of cards and predicting that he might end up losing an eye. Every time we see him, we get a super close shot on one of his eyes. Maybe it's a coincidence, but I hope not. Since then, it's also been heavily speculated that Zoro will be the one to face Jack, which I think is reasonable. Zoro also seems to be in need of an eye lately. It's a long shot, but I think that after a long battle, Zoro will cut out one of Jack's eyes, then he'll try to use it as his own and realize that's not how it works.
What series are you reading?
It's Berserk.
Yeah, totally.
He's also a completely different size. Like, Jack's huge. Zoro is not.
His eyeball would not fit.
I mean, let's suspend reality and pretend One Piece is a series where people cut out eyeballs and then try and put them in their own sockets, which it's not. Let's make that clear. It wouldn't work anyway.
I do think that my suspicion currently, we did definitely talk about the whole Jack in his eyes thing, especially because he was doing a lot of that before he actually unveiled Jack, with his full design and everything, and we got the mammoth view before we saw him as a person, right? Or was it the other way around?
Yeah, we saw him as a mammoth before we saw his human form.
So I kind of wonder if maybe he just does the eye thing, because like Jack's design, especially as a human, is like, I mean, he's like a golem or something. He's just like cut out of stone. Like he has such kind of minimalistic features that maybe Oda just, like, that's the only thing that we see of his face really is his eyes. It's the only thing that emotes at all. So maybe Zoro, I'm just looking at this question. Maybe Oda does that because that's like the only way to kind of give you any hint at Jack's internal.
You're going to say Zach.
You know what?
I was going to say Zach.
He's the Lego maniac. I actually have a really odd pull for this. Like, for some reason, like, Oda's obviously a fan of like Disney films, especially classic Disney films. And seeing like Jack's form and just elephants in general always makes me think of The Jungle Book. No connection to the recent upcoming movie. But if you guys remember the elephant sequence, there was the big like lead elephant. And oftentimes, and maybe it's just because I'm an artist and I focus on things like that, the way that character's eyes were drawn and like how serious and stark, like even just that elephant would glance at you and it would send a chill down Mowgli's spine. I think if anything, Oda might be subconsciously maybe drawing on those references that like, oh, elephants are big and just they look at you and it's like, yeah, you know your place. And that's maybe something he would like codifying for Jack.
Interesting.
Watch The Jungle Book.
Yeah, it's great.
When does the new one come out? Is it supposed to be good or is it supposed to be terrible?
It looks pretty good. I'm interested.
Crazy.
Yeah, it comes out next month, I believe.
It's not supposed to be like Gods of Egypt or Pan.
That's what I'm asking. I mean,
No, Pan is terrible.
I heard Pan was like one of the worst movies. I was just ending that sentence there. Is that it, Steven?
That's it for Reddit.
So, Ed, it's time for
Piece the Tweet. Yeah.
It's time to piece the tweet. Your questions, comments, and theories on Twitter. Ed, what do we got this week?
First one comes from Alice W., who asks, if Zanisha has been moving this whole time, where are they now?
Where aren't they? That's a really bad answer. I mean, I just assume they're slightly further than they were from.
I mean, does the elephant just walk in circles?
I assume he just wanders. I mean, but how far? I guess he could get pretty far. I mean, maybe we'll be at Whole Cake Island when they get off.
That would be awesome.
We still don't know if the minks have any way of like communicating to the elephant where they'd like to go,
I'm super
or if he
curious
just
about
sort
that.
of like randomly wanders and they just have to deal with it.
Good question.
Well, that's what we need eternal posts for. So, she also asks, why is Momonosuke sick since he arrived to Zou? It's a good question, but we don't know.
No,
Allergic to dogs.
I don't think it was that he was sick. I think it was that he was like, I don't know, maybe that they were getting closer to kind of returning to the Wano story, and he was kind of revisiting his like trauma or something. That's my theory, I guess.
I like that theory. Yeah, he felt uneasy, I think, is what he
Right.
said last week.
Yeah, I mean, part of it too was just the misdirect with the, they actually hate all the samurai, sort of thing. So I could keep that a secret.
But he did mention it after too, so there's something there. I think personally. Anyway, go ahead.
William asks, our very own William, who would win in a fight? General Frankie, Robobot Armored Kirby, or Dr. Robotnik in any of his vehicles? All right, well, first, Dr. Robotnik is super easy to beat in any of his vehicles.
Yeah, you just jump.
Yeah. I don't know much about Kirby, but I think Frankie
that's a new thing, Robobot, because I think I saw that tweet before I saw the whole new Kirby thing with him in a mech. So I thought they were trying to say Robobo, and I'm gonna have to go with Robobo. I mean, he's the robot version of Bo Duke, one of the Dukes of Hazzard. Very scrappy, always getting in trouble with the law, but always getting out. I think we got ourselves here like a street smart individual who would be able to overcome General Frankie in Robobo.
I think Steve's solved the issue here.
All right.
Yeah.
Maramara No Me asks, if you got to rock the wardrobe of anyone in One Piece, whose would you want and whose would you not want? Also, favorite quotes, if you have any.
Oof, it's tough.
Yeah.
I got to spend a lot of time with my podcast brothers. Hung out with Zach, watched the drum flashback, and
Don't make me cry again, Steve.
I'm starting to get this feeling that I'm like, wow, I think when my time inevitably comes, I have to make that speech.
Oh my god, you can't copy a speech as your last words.
But it's a good speech, and then like years will go by and be like, that is so beautiful, and I'll be like, I made it all myself.
Don't look into that too much. Okay.
No, Hero Look's speech is beautiful. It's one of the best things, and it resonated so much with me after all these years.
That's what I would pick, actually.
Wardrobe. I know I wouldn't want to dress up like Nami these days. I'd save everybody that. I would have said Sanji, but he wears some things that are a little too Abercrombie, too Metro for me.
I think you should dress like Dalton.
No, I live in Southern California now.
I
don't feel like wearing a parka and like metal plates on my arms. But I would like to rock suits like Sanji. Though I'm a big guy, so I'd probably just look like I wouldn't look like someone who's like, oh hey, he's a suave, debonair guy dressed in a suit. No, I'd look like a security guard.
Like a mafia enforcer.
Exactly.
I think I would have to pick. I think Jinbei's would be most accommodating for me.
Except yours would actually be weed leaves.
It would be a hemp. It would just be a hemp.
Yes.
What do you call that? It's a hemp jinbei. He wears a jinbei, right?
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's what he's named after. It's a pun, I think.
Huh. Okay.
I'd say Sanji's good outfits. Sanji has some bad outfits.
But on casual days, I think I just want to dress like Rayleigh.
With the shirt or without the shirt?
I think for everyone's sake, I'll keep the shirt on.
I do like Law's and Usopp's Dressrosa outfits if I were to wear anything slightly trendy. But honestly, most of the time I'd probably just dress like a CP9 agent.
in the winter, I'd wear Law's Punk Hazard outfit.
Mm.
I'm like the only one who really liked that one, I feel like, of the Law outfit. I know there's a lot of debate about that.
Yeah.
I kind of like how Brooke was dressed. I like the long coat.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm just trying to think of any other characters other than Sanji.
What about any of the ones from the film Gold, the white, the pimp suits?
Oh, all those are slick.
Yeah.
I love those.
Next convention we all go to, we're wearing those. Just happen.
I do want to mention Jill had a great suggestion on Twitter last night because she's currently watching through the Davy Back fight. Just do a panel where all of us are wearing Foxy masks. Like either like the with the Foxy ears or just the ones that go around the eyes.
I think that's a great idea.
I just want someone to run by. It's like, hey, split heads, and everyone just goes, oh.
It's like, oh, we all wound up joining the Foxy Pirates. We all lost the Davy Back fight. Because I felt like if we just wore suits and be like, oh man, I love Free, and like, what?
I thought they don't wear suits or anything in Free.
I don't know. I don't know anime. It's
about swimming.
All right, next question. Our very own Chow asks, if the warlords in Supernova were Pokemon, what would they be?
I'll be back in a couple minutes, guys.
Yeah, who plays Pokemon here?
Let me find this question again. What was it?
I only know the original Pokemon.
Wait, what was the question?
Yeah.
If the warlords in Supernovas were to be Pokemon, what Pokemon would they be?
Okay.
Big one.
Kuma would be Ursaring. Crocodile would probably be Crocodile, or the one right before him. I'd say Crocodile.
You don't have to do all of them.
I'm just trying to think of his name. There's no flamingos that I know of. Jinbei would be Waylord.
There's no flamingos. Oh, you mean for Doflamingo? I thought you meant there's no characters who are flamingos. I was like, wait.
Wouldn't Luffy be like a Mon chip?
We've answered that question. We did them all. Hancock would be either like Arbok or Seviper, or whatever the hell Snivy evolves into their last form. Mihawk. Mihawk would be, I don't know, Pidgeot.
Right now we're just reaching.
No.
I'm doing
Pikachu. I'm doing decent.
Eneru's Pikachu.
That'd be Eneru. I want to hear that booming voice coming out of Pikachu.
Like the Denny DeVito.
Yeah.
All right. Chow also asks, who do you think is cuddlier, Chopper or Beppo?
Depends.
Depends Chopper's form.
You could cuddle and pick up Chopper, but you could spoon with Beppo.
You can spoon Chopper too, but no one wants to spoon the Yeti form.
Yeah.
The Yeti form.
Yeah, what is the big guard point?
Yeah, that's
pretty
definitely
darn cuddly.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think Chopper has to win then. Okay. Next question comes from Sanji Vinsmoke. Hey, guys, love the podcast. Except one thing. Every time you mention how Bonnie is the One Piece, it makes you sound very unprofessional. It is completely clear from this week's chapter that Bonnie herself is indeed the last poneglyph needed to find Raftel. P.S. Pudding is hot, but Big Mom is crazy. Help.
3 out of 3.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Did anyone else get like a Wind Waker vibe when they introduced how the 4 poneglyphs connect to the
I didn't think
Raftel?
about that. That's good.
All right. Next question comes from the Kaizoku Ruffy. Could the last poneglyph be on Elbaf? It's a separate civilization from the world, and it would also give us a reason to go.
Yeah, I think we went over that. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it.
Also, better glasses. Guild Tesoro or Doflamingo?
I mean, Guild Tesoros is obviously related to the Ancient Kingdom since it has wings, so definitely Guild.
No, Guild Tesoro's sunglasses are so fly, they have wings on them.
Both acceptable answers for the right answer.
I think Doflamingos win because they're literally indestructible.
Yeah,
No, they broke off.
Able to take his glasses off because that.
They grow back on. They regenerate onto his
Yeah,
face.
they're nano machines. That's what we all know yet.
I really wish we did get to see what was beneath Doflamingo's sunglasses. Oh, you have eyeballs. You have eye holes. Yes, I do have eye holes.
Oh, are his eye holes talking? What are you doing?
Give me all your eye holes. I need all your eye holes.
I am the eye hole man. Only I am allowed to eat eye holes.
What? No, you're good. What's next?
Captain Bolton asks, 800 years ago, the samurai used what would become Kinemon's devil fruit to disguise and move the poneglyphs without the government knowing. What cute disguise would the poneglyph have?
Because we saw the disguises that the three had at Dressrosa, so the poneglyph. Have to be big and square.
Be like a big sphinx or something.
How is that?
Poneglyph is the Snorlax.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Those big Tanuki statues.
I'd just say just paint a big face on it. Just...
Hey, everybody, I'm not a poneglyph.
He's a hypercube.
Those, what are they called? Womps or whatever from Mario?
Yes.
Dwomps, you mean?
Yeah.
Isn't there a big cube in science, like a science fiction movie that I'm forgetting?
Wasn't there a cube
There's the obelisk from 2001.
That's not really a cube, though. That's like
or maybe Time Cube from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
This is the Cosmic Cube in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You guys know more cubes than I.
And then there's
thought,
the Allspark from Transformers.
There's the Rubik's Cube from that Will Smith movie.
There's the cube in that Jennifer Lopez movie.
There's the Rubik's Cube from the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, the Rubik's Cube cartoon.
Oh my god, I can't believe I know that.
Wait, I thought you were being funny.
No, there's a cartoon based off of Rubik's Cube.
It was the 80s.
Are trash.
I apologize.
Buried in a landfill with all those ET games.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, next question comes from Cadet Hat Sean wanted to express his appreciation for the Aw Shucks Straw Hat Pirates. They're the best. That was a great moment in the chapter. Next question comes from Dark Leviathan. Do you think Blackbeard is going to get the Poneglyph Prince and kidnapped Rob to try and get the One Piece? Kidnap Robin. Oh, okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think Robin will probably have. I mean, Greg was hinting at the cool things that could happen from Robin being protected but being sought after. So I mean, there's a lot of good things that could come from that, I guess.
Yeah, I actually want Robin to get kidnapped again for a very what's it? You know that thing you do when you want everything to line up. What's that?
Synchronicity,
like condition?
Kind
yeah,
of.
yeah. But it's a mental condition. It's like everything's got to be the same. Anyway, Robin never got her chapter title with her crew number.
Yeah, we talked about that too.
Yeah, so she needs to get kidnapped and Chopper.
I also want to give a quick shout out to Munchie the Panda, who, though had another Bonnie theory, has the best Twitter avatar I've seen, which is the super creepy Nami face from this chapter. Which I'm glad someone else noticed how weird that face is. What's next, Ed?
Okay, the next one comes from Theo Mamote. So, Wano is the Ancient Kingdom or a part of the alliance against the then future world government organization? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, they're definitely aligned. I don't think they are the Ancient Kingdom. I think, like, literally they are hired to make the poneglyphs.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next one comes from Ivan Azucena, who asks, with the new information this week, how much longer would you guys like One Piece to last, and what are your guesses as to when it will end?
You know, we should have a contest. We did the end of the arcs. We should do when the end of the series. That'll pay off soon, right? I mean,
yeah, but that one I say don't limit anyone to just one guess.
Well,
no,
I
one
have
guess.
to. One guess.
No,
chapters 1000 through 2000. That's my guess. When do you guys think it's going to end? We've gone through this before, but we got new information here. I guess.
I feel like it's almost more manageable to try to guess how many more arcs are left.
Well, okay, let's walk through it. We got Big Mom, we got Kaido, we got Elbath. we've discussed those three. Anything else before we get to Raftel that we have to hit? I mean, there might be one other, like, ooh, what about this one?
What's going on Baltico?
Oh, I don't think that's an arc. I think that's
I don't
like
think we'll go to Baltico.
I was re-listening to the One Piece Connection, which was just posted over the weekend, and I think that's like the setting up the next milestone arc kind of thing. Like, there's going to be an overarching thing going through this section of the story, but then there's the super big stuff, which this chapter was about, the overarching plot. And I think that's all it really is, the Baltico stuff. It'll happen in the background. No one else has... What else is there between...
Other than locations, you could just say, like, there might be a Robin rescue arc. I don't know. That doesn't seem like it would be an arc all on its own, though.
I hope the island before Raftel is like significant, because it feels like, if we all know the map, that's another converging point right before the last island.
Well, if you want to say like 5 or 6 arcs, I would say like 7 years until it's over.
Well, maybe we should guess the amount of arcs. Yeah,
like 2024, basically.
I was agreeing with Jammer, and I think 2027. It's just that's the 30th anniversary. I think that makes sense.
Wow.
I mean, Oda will be what? He'll be 50, just over 50.
100 years old.
He'll be 52. Yeah, he was born in 75, I believe.
So old.
I mean, a 52-year-old is not that old. He's just...
Fuck, I'm going to be like 40-something.
Zach's children will be helping him on his research of the moons of One Piece.
Actually, no, they're just going to be hosting the podcast at that point.
50 isn't too old for someone who's like taking care of their body and, not locking themselves in a drawing chamber.
He's exercising now.
Yeah, if his health's anything like my health, because I sit on my ass all day, yeah, he's probably going to have the health of a 60, 70-year-old.
As long as he makes it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Do it,
You
Oda.
can do it.
All right. What's next?
All right. Katrina McDowell on the point of Oda wouldn't mention the possibility of people coming after Robin again without it being relevant later in the story. It's Occam's kidnapping.
Like that one.
Thitan11 asks, Whitebeard was the closest man to One Piece. How many copies of the Red Stones do you think he had, or instructions or rubbings?
I don't think he had any. He didn't care about the One Piece.
Yeah.
That's possible, but they did call him the closest to the One Piece. Like, that was a term that was actually used for him, which makes me think that he may have. I don't know. Maybe he was keeping them out of a desire to protect them, or maybe that was passed down to Marco, and that's why.
Maybe he had no copies. Maybe he just, wrote down the coordinates somewhere. I mean,
yeah,
we're not going to take a rubbing of this one, right? She just wrote it down. He just, we're not.
Then again, he wouldn't have had anyone who could even read the poneglyphs.
We don't know that, but that's probably true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Okay. Next one comes from Crusty Jacket. Do you think Shanks or Blackbeard have the other missing poneglyph? Maybe even the revolutionaries?
I feel like we
more
would
likely.
Go ahead.
Well, I feel like it's more likely that Blackbeard would end up with it than Shanks.
Yeah, for story purposes.
Yeah.
I feel like Dogstorm would have mentioned it. He mentioned 2 are in the hands of. I mean, it just seems like if there's a third in the hands of Emperor, that seems kind of lame.
Well, that's to go back with Ed's theory that Whitebeard was closest to the One Piece. Maybe that's why Blackbeard wanted to. One of the reasons why he wanted to take down Whitebeard, to get access to one of those red poneglyphs.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it's all speculation at this point, really.
I think Blackbeard's just going to ride the Straw Hats' coattails. I think he'll literally follow them.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think he's the kind of. Maybe I'm just reading too much Harry Potter, but I feel like he's just one of those people who'll be like, let's see what they're up to, and then I'm going to get him when he's not looking.
Yeah, I see that as the whole kind of theme with him, that he steals things. He doesn't earn anything.
He's a pirate.
On his own. Yeah, exactly.
How dare he?
He had no bounty. He's just like, okay, I just got to take out one guy, then I'm going to become a warlord, and then
even that's how he got his first Devil's Fruit. He was like, I'm just going to ride on this ship until I see it.
Yeah,
I feel like that's going to be sort of what will be ultimately his weakness against Luffy. Is that everything hasn't come to him naturally and through his own merits,
Yeah, and he believes in fate and destiny and the One Piece, and I think that goes along with that as well. I don't think Blackbeard has shit. I think he's just gonna follow him. What's next?
Next one comes from Super Ninja Clone, who asks, do you think the stigma that minks are human-hating was propaganda by the world government because they suspected that they were connected to the poneglyphs?
Or it could just be that, they fought off a lot of invaders or people who showed up to, protect either their people or, by proxy, the secret of the poneglyph. And therefore they got that reputation.
I think that's more likely.
They hid it in a good place. It's both in plain sight and out of plain sight. It's that whales.
In the yeah, there's definitely a repeating theory of tribes protecting poneglyphs in this series.
Yeah, I mean it's those who protect history, or they're always shown in a very good light in this series too. Yeah. I really think the Ancient Kingdom are probably going to be the good guys here, but we'll see. We'll see. What's next?
Yonko Abs asks, after chapter 818, does the 70% done story from the editor seem more plausible? I did want to bring this up because that would make it, another 8 or 9 years, roughly? Just by percentages?
I thought that seemed plausible when he originally said it, so yes.
Seems more plausible now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. JL Rivera asks, Shanks might have given Kaido the road poneglyph. This might have been what kept Kaido from Marineford during the war.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been reading all the poneglyph questions, obviously, but that one kind of stuck out to me. It brings in elements you hadn't thought about before.
Yeah, I think unlikely, but I think that's a really good theory at the same time. That's a very creative theory at the very least. Yeah.
91 Ryan asks, since the main villain of the new movie is basically One Piece King Midas, do you think we'll see a completely golden Luffy when they fight, or maybe a golden Gear 4th Luffy if they decide to put Gear 4th in the movie?
Wow, that'd be cool. I like that.
Imagine Luffy clumping around like solid gold Homer Simpson.
Wait, but he already had the gold thing. I mean, Eneru in that fight. I mean,
yeah, but there's a lot of gold.
There's always could always be more gold.
There's a lot of gold.
I've been quoting that movie too much lately. I know it's something.
Not a very good movie.
No, it's not.
All right. Illusion No Me asks, will Luffy ever grow wings? Hashtag One Piece Connection.
Hashtag with Red Bull. They got sued over that.
He's gonna get Green Bull instead.
Wait, someone got sued? What?
I think Red Bull got sued because their commercials showed you were able to do all these things with Red Bull, and no, you can't.
Yeah,
I can fly.
Yeah, someone's being a little bit too litigious with their advertising.
So someone's kid jumped out a window, and now they have a lawsuit on their hands.
They said I would have wings with Red Bull.
It always happens when you make things with cartoon characters. People want to jump down their throats.
They said it would help me perform better in bed.
You never said that, sir.
No, you did.
Last question comes from Danny Newman. When Momonosuke refused Sanji's soup in Punk Hazard, do you think it was because of the way his father was killed?
Wow, that was dark.
I saw some of the Reddit and AP discussions I was looking today, and there were a lot of references to, I mean, we discussed this last week with Oden. It was in the color spread from the beginning of the year, with the Sanji one in the top corner with the logo. It was in Oda's comment saying he was enjoying eating Oden. And everyone there were those with every one of those comments, there was someone who was like, "Oh, that's dark, man. That's dark."
Did Momo get Scott Tenorman?
Oh no!
Oh gosh.
Well, I think we answered that question.
Look at this kid; he's completely uncool. Little baby.
Since when is Radiohead Australian?
I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
All right.
So, any final thoughts on the chapter, or anything we didn't mention that you guys wanted to mention?
It's funny because I read it. I'm like, oh man, I hope this doesn't squander the year of Sanji. I enjoyed it though. It's really setting the pace because when you think about it, the last 4 years or so has been like, oh hey, Doflamingo makes fake devil. Caesar makes fake devil fruits for Doflamingo, sells them to Kaido, and that was like the big overarching story for all these years. Since now Doflamingo's been taken out, now the big thing now is, hey, it's like now it's all the poneglyphs and Kaido, a lot of so much information.
You okay there, Steve?
Yeah, he's having a hard time.
Yeah.
He's having a
no,
loose
it's set up the new overarching plot line for us for the next few years. I'm pretty sure this is.
I think this will take us nearly to the end.
I think it's really a great example of how Oda takes people's expectations even farther. Like, I think for a long time people have been wondering, will there be a poneglyph on Wano? But it's like not even that. They actually created the poneglyphs, and there's even more and more history than even that, in Wano. So it's great. He really ratchets it up.
I'm guessing, Bryan, you were probably one of the few people who had at least here that geeked out as much as me. I feel like.
Oh yeah, I was completely flabbergasted by everything in this chapter. Not just with the revelation that this red poneglyph is connecting to the end, but if you even pay attention to Luffy's reaction, Luffy's freaking out harder than anybody in this chapter. Like when he met Rayleigh, he hardly gave a shit, but finding out that he's basically 1 or 3 steps away from achieving the One Piece, you imagine when he actually gets there.
But I wanted more adventure. I wanted another 4 decades.
Yeah. I'm almost I'm in bed with Ed that you'll probably end up dying the second he gets to the One Piece.
That's a biblical.
When are they gonna get to the raft tail factory?
It's literally a biblical story there, if that's how that happens. So we're at chapter 818, and I thought it's been a little while. Let's give a quick check-in. Let's see who's close to winning the When Will Zoe End contest.
Oh, right.
You could have a chance. We haven't closed the entries down yet. I'll probably do that pretty soon, though. You have a chance. We'll put the link in the description if you want to guess the chapter you think Zoe will end. Let's go in order from the person least likely to win to the person most likely to win. So we'll go backward. I said chapter 873. Remember 818.
Also remember, Zach doesn't want to win these contests. He doesn't want to edit more files.
That's ridiculous. Of course I want to win this. Dude said 862. Bryan, you said 860. I don't know how are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling pretty shitty. I still protest that we shouldn't make that prediction so early, but whatever.
That's how we're doing it.
A villain's got to show up first.
Erin said 850. Greg said 847. Miles said 845. Steve, you said 842. How are you feeling about yours?
What was the latest chapter number again?
818.
I don't see Zoe going on for too much longer, to be honest. I think
even with Jack lurching on the horizon.
Lurching?
Yeah, that's the adjective I chose to use there. Or verb.
Yeah. Look at the adjective.
It's a verb. That's a verb. That's a verb.
He's from the Addams Family.
So how are you feeling?
Honestly, I think Zoe's gonna end a lot quicker. I think Jack is going to crash the wedding, so I don't think he's coming back to Zoe.
Steven, you said 840. How are you feeling about that?
Not very good. I thought I had said something lower, but yeah, I think that's under the assumption that it would have been a more traditional type of arc, which I think we've seen has not really been the case.
Although, Steven, out of the people here, at least right now, I'm very curious how you would host a podcast. Ed, you said 838. You've hosted some podcasts. How are you feeling about that?
I feel like that's still plausible.
Okay. I think you're in good shape.
I mean, I'm at the high end of what's still possible.
Joey, out of us, you're doing the best. You may take this away again. You said 832. How are you feeling about that one?
Truckee Arrow Part 2.
It was people really loved it, so it may be back. Roger said 830, and believe it or not, Jammer said 828, and Sam said 825. So, two of the people.
Congratulations, Sam.
Yeah, Sam. It sounds like you're going to host a podcast.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's Price is Right. Price is
Right
rules. You can't go over.
Right. So he gets anything up to 825. Once it's over 825, then it's in Jammer's court. And
so what if it ends before that? Then no one's a winner.
No, if it ends before 825, Sam wins. Oh no, he goes over.
Went over.
Sorry,
No,
you're right.
He went over.
I was saying the opposite.
Was there anyone?
I got confused by that last time.
Yeah, sorry, I said the opposite. So yeah, if anyone goes under 825, no one wins. No one said chapter 1. If they did that,
That's cheap.
It is cheap, but I think you've seen Price is Right, and guess the people who usually win. It's the one who go saying 1, or they say 1 over.
I'm gonna pull a Luffy. I don't want to win that way.
Well said. So we'll check in on that in a few more weeks or months. But please, join us for this game. We'll probably be closing that pretty soon. So this is the time to do that. Why don't we round off the show? You guys ready?
Yep.
I was born to round off.
This has been episode 409 for the week of March 7th, 2016. Great episode, you guys. Greg, thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thanks for making time for me.
Yeah, how's everything going in Japan? We haven't spoken in a while, I feel like.
No, everything's doing well. Like I said at the start, just waiting for Dark Souls over here. I'm going to be back in the States next month in April, going to Disney World for a week.
Oh yeah, is that a birthday trip or is that just a?
That is actually going to be. It's wasn't originally, but just the timing has worked out that yes, it is a birthday trip.
Congratulations
for both my wife and I. So
yeah, you two are gonna really enjoy yourselves there.
Have you ever been to? I mean, you've been to Disney World, right?
3 times. I remember 2 times, and the last time was like over 20 years ago, I think.
All right. It's a great place. I was there like 10 years ago. It's still a lot of fun.
Now, Greg, I assume you're going to be bringing your camera and filming OPP Disney World for us while you're there.
Yeah, I got a new camera to film OPP Disney, so we're going to talk to Mickey about what he thinks about Raftel.
And then you're going to hit Minnie in the eye with a tripod. I'm sorry.
What? I thought that was going in a different
Inside
direction.
jokes.
Oh. No,
we mentioned it.
We mentioned it on the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 2-year-old joke, but it's still a joke.
It's an old joke, but
I'm sorry to bring
poor
it up.
lady.
Okay. Enjoy yourself there. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, before we go, we're gonna be at Anime Boston. That's gonna be in a couple weeks, March 25th through the 7th. We're also celebrating One Piece History Month all month long. Special articles, special editorials, also reposting a lot of the great articles the crew has written in the past about the history of One Piece. And again, let us know your favorite history moments. I think this chapter happens to fit very well into the month. So yeah, please let us know those. # One Piece History Month. And also I want to make the sadder announcement that I will not be on the podcast in 2 weeks. So get ready for some guest hosting. I'm sure it will be fun. They always have fun without me and do things that I would highly suggest they not do.
Unprotected sex.
Jennifer said it, not me. You could look forward to that in 2 weeks, I guess. So without further ado, Sam, where could people find you? Thank you for coming on also.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. You can find me on OnePiecePodcast.com as usual. You can find me doing the One Piece anime reviews on AnimeNewsNetwork.com, and you can hear me on the most recent Anime Manga podcast with our good friends Jammer and Erin. If only they were here with us right now.
If only.
What did you guys talk about? I guess Jammer, what did you guys
we talked about the anime Death Parade, which is an anime that is pretty good.
Sounds wholesome. Yeah.
We were getting old.
Oh yeah, we did. I'm feeling the heartburn.
Well, you
already.
guys did.
Yeah,
Anime
Mr.
Death
22-year-old.
Aren't you guys like the youngest people on the podcast?
Sam is.
No.
Oh.
Jammer, you're like 26?
27.
Didn't somebody draw me with my height?
That's Sam.
Yeah,
that's
Sam.
Samuel.
Okay. Sorry, I like
Well,
being ridiculous about my height.
Yeah, I have it listed as mystery height right now.
Awesome.
Well, how tall are you?
It changes depending on my form.
Yeah.
He's not even at 100% right now.
Wait until he turns golden. That's where things get interesting. Erin, our new editor-in-chief, thank you for coming on. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at AmazingBedhead. I'm on Twitter all the time, so come and talk to me.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you for all the great work you've been doing on the site as well.
No.
Sure. Jammer, our new insert job title here.
Yes, I'm going to be very good. I'm going to be the best insert job title here person you've ever had, but
Best wrong opinion ever.
best wrong opinion ever. In addition to that, I've also started a new podcast called Los Fanboys, which we talk about movie stuff over at latino-review.com. So be sure to check that out. It's all kinds of fun, and we have cool guests like Simon Kinberg, who produces like X-Men and shit like that. So
what does the title of that translate to?
The Fanboys.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Okay.
Very
It's crazy, right?
Very
Like El
interesting.
Nino.
Oh, it's in
very
English.
global.
It's an English podcast, I should say. It's just, No, because it could be. People could think, because I know there's another Los Fanboys that's like wrestling, except they're all Spanish speaking. So,
Really?
yeah.
Wait, so you knew there was another podcast
I found out.
named the
I
same
found out
thing?
after the fact. After the
Okay.
fact.
Do some research, Jammer. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Los fanboys. We're the English one.
Oh, also follow me on Twitter at Jam the Writer, and you can check out my other shit. No, that's good. We're good.
Check out my other shit if you feel like it, but don't.
Harsh.
That's what he said. I was repeating what he said. Stephen, where can people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Translatosaurus. I was gunning for the position of vice president of character identification, but Jammer won that one, so I guess I'm just still going to be the
Settle
very
for
special guest.
Secretary of Balloon Doggies.
That too. I'll have to learn how to do that. So thanks.
I also want to thank Bryan for coming on. Bryan, where can people find you?
Hey, thanks for having me. You can find me on Twitter, Dark King Zoro, all one word, or you can look at my old DeviantArt stuff as Banendorf. Also, check out new episodes of Teen Titans Go, and hopefully whenever Rick and Morty, if you choose to check it out, and maybe season 3 will come at some point, maybe in the future at some point.
Joey, where can the people find you?
They can follow me at Joey Weiser on Twitter. I tweet a lot about One Piece and various movies and things I'm watching, but I'm also a little bit about my own work. Speaking of which, if you follow my Tumblr, joeyweiser.tumblr.com, I recently just put up a big post about my process in writing and drawing Mermin. So it's a huge post, and people seem to have been finding it interesting. So yeah, take a look at that.
Steve, where can people find you?
You can find me on social media, at Steve Yurko, all one word. Find me on Twitter. Find me on Tumblr. Find me on Instagram. Also, find me at cons if you're in the Pennsylvania area, state. So I'm in the Pennsylvania area. It's a pretty big freaking state. No, I'm going to be at a couple cons next month in April. The first 2 weekends, I will be at ZenkaiCon in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And then the following weekend, I will be at Techo in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So check me out there if you would dare.
And Ed, where can the people contact us?
Well, Zach, you're at Zach_Logan on Twitter. I am Edward E. Fasticio on Twitter. The podcast is at OnePiecePodcast.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, and Facebook.com/OnePiecePodcast, Reddit.com/r/OnePiecePodcast. Leave us some feedback pieced together there. OnePiecePodcast.tumblr.com has recently been taken over by Jill, so it's a lot more active. You get news updates and funny pictures there. One Piece Podcast on Skype, OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. Subscribe on SoundCloud, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, or also call us on our phone number. Zach?
That phone number is 347-497-MAJI.
Maji.
That phone number again is 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
with your questions, your comments, your theories, and what you'd like to put in your Oden.
Mouth.
Okay, you could take that too, I guess. Greg, I want to also thank you for coming on. Is there anything people could look forward to? Any of upcoming articles you've been hinting at?
You got my articles at in V-Jump, which are a little bit more difficult to obtain as it's V-Jump and they're in Japanese, so good luck with that. However, you can find my regular bi-weekly column on bi-weekly?
Bye.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every other week, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Me no speak English good, but teaches
Bi-monthly would
as,
be every
as
other
job.
month.
Bi-weekly articles on columns rather on onepiece.com. They're in Japanese and English. Just look for my beautiful smiling face, and it's not creepy at all. And you can click on the go to English version for the English version. You can look forward to my next article, which is about this chapter we just talked about, and it should be coming out, I guess in like 24 hours after this airs.
Oh, really? That's
Yep.
some good turnaround there, Greg.
Right.
So please check that out. I know, Erin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've been, linking people to that column on our Facebook page recently as well. So if you're lost and do not know where to find it, you could check it out there. Looking forward to that one, Greg. I think we're probably, if this chapter is any indication, we're probably in for a really great week next week as well. So please join us then for our Manga Recap chapter 819. But until then, my name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
And we'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 400. What?
I forgot what we were getting ready for.
I was hoping that you would say I didn't say anything.
Right, the ending. Let's do it.
I was just doing it.
Well, I forgot. No,
Zach, can we get started already? Why are you wasting time? Let's go.